ESLA, which essentially imposes a 1 cedi levy on a liter or every liter of fuel. This has drawn mixed reactions indeed from across the spectrum. While some in the sector think that it's a good idea to deal with the debt and buy fuel for power generation, others think that it will impose hardship on the people. GPRT, for example, is not happy. They have said that they will embark on some strike in the coming week to protest the imposition of the 1 cedi per liter levy. The question is, what are the justifications for this particular 1 cedi per liter levy? And how sure are we that this is going to deal with the problem? In the past, we've seen levies and taxes imposed to deal with the same problem, but it's never been the case. How sure are we that this is going to be different? Also, government argues that the cedi has been strengthened, and over the past month or few weeks, we've seen prices at the pump of fuel prices drop. So they're just taking advantage of the strengthening of the cedi to make some savings to deal with the energy sector debt and the purchase of fuel. Does that justification suffice for you? What do you think we should do as a people to defray the cost? Of course, the debt. Other matters have come up in terms of ensuring the efficiency of ECG, etc. Some have argued that these are long-term things and that we need an immediate solution to fix the problem. And is that immediate solution the imposition of the levy? How about the hardship that Ghanaians will suffer? These are the matters we'll be dealing with today. And for how long will this tax or levy be collected? The Office of the Special Prosecutor has also been busy redeclaring Ken Ofori-Atta, former finance minister, as fugitive from justice. Indeed, we've seen also this week the Interpol issuing a red notice for Ken Ofori-Atta as a wanted man by the state of Ghana. What does this mean for Ken Ofori-Atta? He says he's not well. He is due to undergo a surgical operation or some procedure in June, and because of that, he's unable to attend to the invitation of the OSP. Can the OSP find other ways of speaking to him to get the information they need to put up their case? Or if they have enough on him, why can't they just march to court and begin processes? Perhaps try him in absentia. The law allows for that. Why is the special prosecutor bent on having him in person before starting or initiating the processes? We'll seek to understand all of these today. Again, the show is live and interactive. You can join us via WhatsApp line 0204447033 or 0549986996. It's your platform for incisive analysis and riveting conversation. I'll take a quick break. When I come back, I will provide you some updates, introduce my guests, and we'll get a discussion underway. This is The Big Issue. You are welcome.
This June, the business wave is back and it's bigger than ever. The City Business Festival 2025 on City FM and Channel 1 TV, where it's all about business. This June, we will be celebrating Ghanaian businesses, re-examining our business modules and practices through our business fora, and sharing knowledge through our on-air business discussions. Make a business date with the on-air series every weekday at 9 a.m. on the City Breakfast Show on 97.3 City FM and 10 a.m. on Breakfast Daily on Channel 1 TV. From expert interviews to real-world insights to the tools you need to grow. Don't miss a single moment this June. It's the City Business Festival 2025, celebrating everything business. Only on City FM and Channel 1 TV. Your business, your future, your time is now. Stay tuned, stay inspired, and let's grow together. The City Business Festival 2025, celebrating everything business.
The City Business Festival
Festival 2025 is powered by 97.3 City FM and Channel 1 TV, and it's proudly sponsored by Absa Bank, MTN Business, and Zonda Tech Ghana Limited.
Curious about what's happening beyond your borders? Beyond Borders takes you there. Every Wednesday at 7 p.m., join Caleb Kuda as he explores the stories that shape our world, connecting you with Ghanaians in other cultures and seeing the world through their eyes.
So we've learned one thing: you leave your shoes outside.
Wow.
Tuesdays, yeah.
I won't go to Ghana dressed in a Lacoste.
As director of operations.
From international politics to the human stories that define nations, Beyond Borders brings you a fresh perspective of Ghanaians around the world, one conversation at a time. Beyond Borders with Caleb Kuda airs Wednesdays at 7 p.m. only on Channel 1 TV.
You're welcome back. This is a big issue on 97.3 FM on Channel 1 Television. We are also live on YouTube and Facebook and other socials. So two key issues we are looking at this morning. The first one has to do with the 1 cedi per litre levy imposed on fuel as part of the ESLA amendment. What it means is that anytime you buy fuel, you pay 1 cedi per litre. If you buy 10 litres, it means you are paying 10 cedis as part of the ESLA amendment, which means that we will need, government said they need money to buy fuel and to retire the debt in the energy sector. And they think that this will go a long way to help that particular one. We don't have a sunset clause in that arrangement, in the amended act. We don't know what government intends to do, whether that is intended to be a permanent tax, we'll find out. Also, Kenneth Furata has been redeclared a wanted person indeed. The Interpol has issued a red notice declaring him as such, wanted person by Ghana, and I'm sure they'll be looking for him to start the extradition process to get him to Ghana. The OSP is bent on having him in Ghana in order to get him assist in investigations. But the question is, why will he assist in investigations when the essence of it is to pin him down or to prosecute him? Can the OSP begin the prosecution, or can't he file charges and begin prosecution of the gentleman in absentia? Our laws allow for that, so why is he not taking that route? Kenneth Furata, what's his plan? Is he not coming at all? What's the plan? His lawyers have been trying to explain that he's not well, showing some documentation, etc. But the Office of the Special Prosecutor thinks that is not enough, and once it's not been declared an invalid, he should be able to appear to help the process. We will discuss all of that today. But just to provide you some updates, of course, President Mahama justified the imposition of the 1 cedi per litre levy, saying that it is a necessary sacrifice, very painful, but a necessary one we have to undertake to save the energy sector. He was speaking earlier in the week when the committee he put together to program or to organize the National Economic Dialogue presented the dialogue's report to him. He took advantage of that to go into the matters at hand, which is the ESLA amendment. Let's hear him.
Parliament yesterday approved an amendment to the Energy Sector Levies Act and a certificate of urgency, introducing a 1 cedi, Ghana cedi, increase in the energy sector recovery levy. This decision, though difficult, is necessary and justifiable. The additional revenue projected is 5.7 billion cedis annually. This revenue will be strictly ring-fenced to pay down legacy energy debt, finance ongoing fuel purchase, and avert the risk of recurring power shortages. Funds from this levy will not be subject to the hazards of the consolidated fund. And the minister is here. I know when money falls into the consolidated fund, it faces certain hazards. It will not be subject to the hazards of the consolidated fund. The fund will be regularly audited and audit reports made public to ensure its transparent use.
All right, so that was President Mahama seeking to justify the imposition of the levy. Now, of course, this will not go without reactions. The minority in Parliament has announced its intention to stage a public demonstration in the coming days in protest of the government's introduction of the levy, the 1 cedi per litre levy. The minority chief, Frank Anodonpre, speaking to journalists, urged the government to immediately withdraw or significantly reduce the levy, warning that the opposition will escalate its actions if the demand is not met. Channel 1 News' Ni Ayiko Okan has more.
The minority in Parliament has strongly criticized the government's introduction of a 1 Ghana cedi increase in price of petroleum products, calling it a betrayal of public trust. According to the caucus, the hike contradicts the government's earlier appeal to commercial drivers to reduce transport fares by 15%, a move they say deepens the economic burdens already facing Ghanaians. Addressing journalists, Minority Chief Whip Frank Anodonpre announced plans by the caucus to stage a public demonstration in the coming days. He stated that the protest aims to demand either the withdrawal or significant reduction of the new fuel levy.
The minority in the coming days, in solidarity with the Ghanaian people, will be staging a number of actions to demand the withdrawal or the reversal of this tax. We consider it draconian, we consider it as insensitive, and we consider it as an action that depicts of a government that is out of touch with the people of this country, having barely been in office for 6 months. This is a disgrace. The NDC are indeed revealing their true colors.
All right, so that was Frank Anodonpre ending the Ayiko Okan's report. Meanwhile, commercial transport operators are demanding the immediate reversal of the new energy sector levy, which imposes a 1 cedi charge on every litre of fuel purchased. The drivers are threatening a nationwide strike if government fails to heed their call. Ghana Private Road Transport Union Industrial Relations Officer Abbas Imoro has been addressing a press conference.
The policy places a 1 cedi charge on each litre of fuel purchased. For commercial drivers, this translates into significant losses in daily income and threatens their already fragile livelihoods. At a press conference, leaders of the Ghana Private Road Transport Union GPRTU, Concerned Drivers Association of Ghana, True Drivers Union, and other groups strongly called for an immediate suspension of the levy.
It saddened our heart just for us yesterday reduced fare prices by as deep as 15% due to fuel reduction, just to go behind and add additional money to the fuel. So we are saying they should total remove it. At least they should have consulted us. We've given up to 10th June.
The unions have given government until Tuesday, June 10, 2025, to reverse the levy or face a nationwide strike by commercial transport operators.
It may sound in the ears of people like 1 cedi, but on 1 gallon is 4 cedis, 50 pesos. When you multiply it by 10, it's 45 cedis. When you are traveling from here to even Tema, it will be more than 1 gallon, and you will return. So we are saying we should be engaged.
All right, so that was the GPRTU expressing their opposition to the new levy. To help us with the discussion this morning, we have the Honorable Edem Agbana, Member of Parliament for Ketu North, the Honorable Collins Adumaku-Mensah, Member of Parliament for Efija Kwabre North, former Deputy Minister for Energy, Professor Patrick Esumi, economist from the University of Ghana, will be joining us, Benjamin Insia, Energy Analyst, Executive Director for the Center for Environment and Sustainable Energy, is on the show as well. Franklin Kujo, President of Imani Africa, is also on the program. Of course, we will have the PRO for the Energy Ministry join us for a few technical clarifications, and once he joins us, we will make it known. It's Roxy. All right, gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Thank you,
Yes, and then let me start off with you and government. and so you are seeking to burden us with extra taxes or levies. So you have to justify this. 1 cedi per litre, it appears quite simple, but when you look at the cumulative effect of it, that's quite a lot of money. And the backlash is understandable because people don't want money taken out of their pocket, or people don't want to be overburdened with taxes. Indeed, the promise was to provide relief. That was how come you scrap some taxes, only to be taking it in another form. What's your response to the criticism that you've scammed us, quote unquote, and that this wasn't what you promised, and that this tax will further burden Ghanaians?
Well, Selorm, good morning to you and to my senior colleague, Collins, and to all our cherished viewers and listeners across the world, especially to the good people of Ketu North. And I thank them for releasing me to be on your show this morning. Selorm, as a member of parliament and a representative of the people, I do not take lightly any policy that seeks to impose extra cost or some burden on the good people of Ghana. However, we are here as leaders because we are elected to solve problems. We are elected to solve challenges. And this 1 Ghana cedis per litre, levy per litre, though appears very difficult and burdensome, is a necessary action to be taken to solve the challenges that we are confronted with. In fact, I dare say that the 1 Ghana cedi levy per litre is what will help us avert a more disastrous, a more catastrophic national crisis in the future, which basically is a crisis in the energy sector. Because let's confront the facts. Where we are today, Selorm, our energy sector is bedeviled with unsustainable levels of debt. As of January 2025, when President Mahama took office as President of the Republic, the energy sector alone was grappling with $3.1 billion debt. And we needed an additional 1.1 billion annually to buy fuel for our thermal plants. And don't forget that out of these 3.1 billion debts that we came to inherit from the previous administration, about 1.73 billion of the debts are debts owed the independent power producers, a group of people who substantially contributes to power generation in this country. And so we inherited a sector that is in crisis. And as leaders, government decided to take bold actions. Government decided to make sacrifices in order to solve the problem, and not just to solve it temporarily for political gains, but to resolve the legacy debts that we inherited in the energy sector. And so all of us are to make some sacrifices. So government is making sacrifices, and the good people of Ghana are being called upon to also make sacrifices. And that is why President Mahama, before he assented to the bill, appealed to the good people of Ghana to bear with us. But Selorm, the tax itself, or the levy, which is just an amendment to the Energy Sector Levies Act 2025. And so it is not a new tax, but amendment to the EXLA Act, which we have currently. Now, with this amendment, every Ghanaian who buys fuel will be required to pay 1 Ghana cedis levy on each litre. It appears very, very, very burdensome, like you said. But when you look at the incidentals on the taxpayer and you compare to the situation we inherited, I can say in all authority that even with the introduction or with the amendments of the ESLA, which imposes this 1 Ghana cedis levy on each liter, Ghanaians are still paying less for fuel than they were paying 5 months ago when the NPP was exiting office. Because, Selorm, as we speak today, we all know that there are 3 key things, 3 main things that contribute to our petroleum pricing regime. The first one is the exchange rate. We also have taxes that are imposed by government, and also the world market or the global market price of petroleum products. Today, government, through prudent management of the economy, has managed to ensure that the exchange rate is far better today than we inherited in January 2025. Today, the cedi is appreciating against all the major currencies across the world, and the cedi is one of the best, if not the best performing currency currently in the world. And so that's appreciation of the cedi and the prudent management of the economy has resulted in a significant reduction in the prices of petrol, the ex-pump prices. And so a liter of fuel, which costs on the average 16 Ghana cedis in the early part of January 2025, today is hovering around 11.5, 12 Ghana cedis. So with this reduction from 16 to 11, and government's decision to increase the ESLA by imposing a 1 Ghana cedis levy on each liter, Ghanaians will now be paying close to 13 Ghana cedis or even less for fuel, which is still much lower than what we inherited in January 2025. And so Ghanaians understand that yes, we are challenged, but it will be more disastrous to leave the energy sector the way it is, for us to be confronted or to be plunged into darkness, than for all of us to contribute to resolving it. And for me, I support the levy also because President Mahama has given us the assurance that this levy will be ring-fenced strictly to resolve the legacy debts and also to ensure stability in the energy sector. Now, what we inherited in the past, or what we saw in the past, is the fact that the previous government, despite collecting 45 billion Ghana cedis in ESLA, diverted ESLA funds, revenue from ESLA, to finance other projects. And at the time they were leaving office, instead of ESLA revenue solving the challenges in the energy sector, they left behind an energy sector that was on its knee, life support because of debt. Prior to 2024 elections, we saw the number of times that the IPPs, the independent power producers, came out and issued stern warnings that they were going to cut or plunge the country into darkness because of the debts that were owed them. We inherited a challenge. Our approach to the challenge is that we need to solve this problem once and for all.
Very well.
And we have decided not to play politics with it.
1 cedi per liter, levy will seek to solve that.
Yes, because the challenge we are confronted with in the energy sector is fundamentally a financial issue. So you need to raise money. Now, with this levy, we are projecting to raise 5.7 billion annually. That will even still not be enough.
Yes.
But we have other things that government is introducing in order to solve the problem. And one is the phase 2 of the gas processing plant. When that comes, it means that our payments or expenses on fuel for our thermal plants will reduce significantly. So government is not only approaching this issue by placing a burden on the Ghanaian people to pay an extra levy, but we are looking at how we can confront the issue from all sectors and across to ensure that we find a solution that is lasting enough.
Great.
Our appeal, in conclusion, our appeal to the good people of Ghana is that we understand the challenges, and we understand that you are now trying to navigate your way out of the prolonged economic hardship that you were confronted with under the 8 years of the NPP. But we have to make this necessary sacrifice in order to save this country's energy sector, because the energy sector is the bedrock for production, manufacturing, and all other sectors are linked to the success of the energy sector. We plead with them.
If it's to be successful,
it must be an energy sector. Even the agri sector needs the energy sector to be stable. And so all other sectors are interconnected with the energy sector. That is why government has decided to take this very difficult but important step to resolve the challenges.
Great. So that's the justification for it. Honorable Collins Aduma-Kumensa, you have been in the energy sector. You know the problems there very well. Given the debt situation, 3.1 billion and 1.2 billion for fuel, introducing this, and that debt must be paid somewhat. I don't know how we're going to pay, but somewhat that debt has to be paid. Otherwise, we're going to be plunged back into doomsday, which nobody wants. This 1 cedi per litre imposition by government, technical people have said it's good. Of course, the ordinary people say it's not the best. Your side is planning a demonstration sometime later in the week to protest this. Given that a lot of the debt was what you handed over to the new administration, which is barely 6 months old, shouldn't you rather be keeping quiet or supporting the clearing of the debt and how moving forward we can make progress, rather than staging a demonstration to do what really? I mean, that's just the question. Why are we opposing this?
Well, Selorm, good morning. And, this is my first time on your show.
Yes, I'm happy you are
yes,
here.
My first time
we spoke the very first time on Eyewitness News.
Absolutely.
And you said quite a few things.
Yes. And good morning to my brother, Edem Agbana, and the other panelists who will be joining us via Zoom. Selorm, I know Edem Agbana very well. And if anybody had told me that a time will come when Edem will be justifying an increment of taxes, I would have said, oh, no, that cannot be. I mean, today, my brother is justifying taxes, additional burden on the Ghanaian people. And that's quite interesting. I have been listening to quite a number of government communicators. And in all honesty, Selorm, I think they should tone down on their attempt to justify. They just have to tone down a little bit. You see, one of the things that we politicians must guard against is the trust of the people, is to lose the trust of the people. We must be very careful what we say during campaigns and what we promise and what we actually deliver. And this goes across both political parties. We are a victim as a political party, myself from MPP. And if we are not careful, it gets to a stage, what politicians say at one point in time may not be taken serious. And that is my worry. One of the most important documents that comes to Parliament is the budget. And anybody who has the budget should go with me to paragraph 263. And with your permission, I would like to read.
Sure.
Mr. Speaker, government assumed the liability and debt service obligation of ESLA PLC following the bond closure program and subsequent liquidation of ESLA PLC as a result of the domestic debt exchange program, DDEP. And there's the catch, 264. Consequently, without increasing the levy, and this is the catch, without increasing the levy, we will also review the Energy Sector Levies Act, ESLA, to consolidate the Energy Debt Recovery Levy, Energy Sector Recovery Levy, that's the Delta Fund, and Sanitation and Pollution Levy into one levy and use the proceeds to cater for the energy sector shortfall and service the inherited debt service obligation. This was the budget. This was read in March. That they do not intend to increase the levy. Indeed, the first bill that came to Parliament, bills when they come with a memorandum and have a copy of the memorandum. This was the initial bill. And the object of the bill is to consolidate the energy sector levies, provide prudent and efficient utilization of the proceeds generated from the levies, and facilitate long-term investment in the energy sector. Let me go to paragraph 3, the most important part, which is consistent with what was mentioned in the budget. Consequently, the Energy Sector Levies Act 2015, Act 899, does not make provision for the use of the proceeds of the levies to service the debt taken over by government. For this reason, government has decided to restructure and consolidate the energy debt recovery levy, the energy sector recovery levy, the price stabilization and recovery levy, and sanitation and pollution levy into a single levy to be known as the energy sector shortfall and debt repayment levy. And there's the catch. This consolidation will, however, not increase the amount charged on each of the petroleum products.
This is a memorandum.
This is the memorandum to the earlier bill that was brought to Parliament in March. This justification about we left a debt, they knew about this debt before they brought this memorandum.
But this memorandum doesn't hold anymore, right?
No, this I'll give you the new memorandum. Okay. I'm just trying to tell you about the trust issue. When you come to Parliament, you present a budget and tell us that you are not going to increase the levy. And then, true to what you said in Parliament, in your budget, you come with a new Energy Sector Levy Act. And the memorandum it's a tallies. That you don't intend to increase. This is March. Then in June, you come with an amendment and you're going to increase the levy.
Maybe they've seen that the other things they wanted to do to deal with the problem maybe will not work, or maybe the fact that the IPPs and all of that in recent times have been roaring.
The point I'm making is that they knew of this, all the things you are talking about. They knew about it. Who doesn't know about the energy sector debt?
So why do you think that they now want to increase it? I'm
coming. That is the inconsistency that I'm drawing your attention to. It is the inconsistency that I'm drawing your attention to. And I'm saying that we politicians must get to a certain stage where we have to be truthful to the words we tell our people proud to come into power. This was what they told us. So this sudden justification about now we want to pay the debts is quite interesting. Now I listened to Mr. John Jinapo, my very good friend. We have to answer a very fundamental question. What is going to be the usage of this proceeds of this money?
So they used to buy fuel and to...
No, listen to Mr. John Jinapo. He says the proceeds of this is not going to be used to pay the energy sector debt, legacy debt. And that is going to be used to procure fuel. Completely at variance with what my brother said. That's what you said. You said it's going to be used to pay legacy debt, and that you inherited debt. And that the proceeds are going to be used to pay the energy sector debt. That's what you said. But your minister on Wednesday, after they had passed this bill at midnight, in the morning on Wednesday, was on City FM, was on Joy, saying that, oh no, the proceeds are not going to be used to pay legacy debt. In fact, it's just going to be used to procure fuel. What is the real intent of this particular levy? Let's just be fair to ourselves. Selorm, one CD
so let me even help your point. There's an FAQ document, 1 CD per litre levy. Question 2 says, what is the purpose of the Energy Sector Levies Amendment Act 2025? So the amendment of the levy of the Energy Sector Shortfall and Debt Prepayment Levy is to raise additional revenue to serve as a dedicated fund for the power sector, particularly to purchase liquid fuels for the use of thermal power generation plants. So that's
so it's not going to be used to pay legacy debt.
So that's what you're saying.
That's the point I'm making, and that's what the minister said. That the usage of this levy, the proceeds, is just going to be used to buy fuel, and not to pay any legacy debt, as my brother is talking about. That's not from me. Now the issue about the president saying there's going
but if they make enough and there is excess, they can pay the debt with it.
You need 1.1.
1.2 actually.
1.2 to buy fuel.
Yes. This is a bill.
You are raising 5.7.
You see, and this is a bill. You have to be consistent.
Sorry, the 5.7 is cedis. So this will be 12.6 billion cedis.
So the point I made was that if that even the 5.7 is still not even enough.
Yeah, to buy fuel.
So I'm saying that nobody should be justifying that we are bringing this.
The point is making is that let's focus on purchasing fuel.
Purchasing fuel. If that is the usage of it, tell us.
Because even for the fuel, we need 12.6.
Absolutely.
But we are raising 5.7.
So this additional burden is not intended
to retard the debt.
Absolutely. From their own narrations. That's the point I'm making. This is from the minister. And the point he made that the president says this is going to go into a dedicated fund. Even the first bill that came, we were told that this money is going to go to a dedicated fund. It's not going to go into a consolidated fund.
So
there's nothing new about it.
So that's consistent.
That's consistent. There's nothing new about it.
That's consistent with what they have been saying.
No, what I'm saying is that what the president said, it's just been consistent with the earlier bill that came to Parliament.
But the earlier bill, what happened to it?
It's been passed.
It's been passed, okay.
It's been passed. We passed it. And it's here. I have the bill here. If you go into the...
That's what consolidates all the...
Consolidates.
Levies.
That is it. And here. It's here. Collecting agencies, the Ghana Revenue. Payment into energy sector support account. It's not going to the consolidated fund. So I'm saying the point that the president made, that we want to assure Ghanaians that this particular money is not going to be commingled with the consolidated fund, is already known. It's consistent with the earlier bill that was, approved.
But yes, so that's the intention. So
that was approved.
So we have to know. So he's saying it is not
it's already known to us. It's nothing new.
No, we didn't know.
He was trying to assure us that, everybody, this is a public document.
I know, but
he was trying to assure the Ghanaian people that, as for this money, don't worry. It's not going to be used for any other thing, but it's going to be used to take care of your energy matters. I'm saying we already know that. And now we are being told that the proceeds coming in is not going to be used for legacy debt. So my brother should stop the explanation about we left this amount of money, debt. This money is not going to be used for that. If they want to retire that debt, they should come back with a new strategy. But for this particular one, they've been inconsistent. They have hoodwinked Ghanaians. They came to, you see, I expected this to happen. When they came and this populist stance, have taken away Levy, have taken away this, we knew there was going to be a gap. They have to find a way of closing the gap. Already, they pegged $1 to 15 cedis for their proceeds. Their revenue proceeds, they pegged $1 to 15 cedis. Dollars now come to almost 10 or 11. So obviously, their revenue projection will drop. They have to find a way of filling that gap. You watch, predict me. Going forward, in the mid-year budget, they will have to come back again to find a way of even recouping more from the Ghanaian people. You have to fill that gap. How do you do that?
But filling that gap was occasioned by the appreciation of the cedi.
Yes.
Which is good in the long term.
Nobody has any problem with that.
So
but in the short term, they have to find a way of filling the gap.
Yeah, but that's to make us better in the long term.
Well, it's making us better. That's why they are charging you 1 cedi. If this is the better you are talking about.
No, but if
this is the better you are talking about.
If we don't want to do so, and we need money to buy fuel, so we are not
so let's get it clear. This 1 Ghana cedi increment per liter is to buy fuel. They should be clear with us.
No, can I come in?
Okay,
Selorm. Yes, so Selorm, he started by making reference to the memorandum that accompanied the amendment or the bill.
No, the first one.
Yes, the first one. Now the second one.
Yes.
The second one, which introduces this 1 Ghana cedis levy. Read the very first paragraph.
I know of it.
So it says,
I can read.
And I will quote,
have it.
the object of the bill is to amend the Energy Sector Levies Act 2025, which is the earlier one that he referenced.
The March one.
Yeah,
yes.
the March
so
one.
This
Act 1135, which is the Act 1135.
And this one, the only amendment is the increase.
So to increase the rate of the energy sector shortfall and debt repayment levy in order to raise additional revenue to support the payment of energy sector shortfalls, reduce energy sector legacy debts, and stabilize power supply.
I am saying that.
And I'm telling you that this is the object of the memo that accompanied the bill.
And this was also approved in Parliament.
Okay, so
yes, and this is what was approved. This is the latest.
This is the latest. But I'm saying that.
And so I read out the latest.
No, immediately this was approved.
The minister
we are making the bill.
The minister will believe the law.
Oh, what I thought.
No,
tell me.
No, so you see, so it's about
even the inconsistency.
It's not even about. It's not about whether you believe the minister. I believe the minister.
Even in the inconsistency.
There is no inconsistency.
The minister, you are aware. You heard the minister.
Okay, so I will explain why there is no inconsistency.
No, the minister says
is to buy fuel.
It's not. I have the. I can Google it for you.
Yes, the minister says to buy fuel.
The minister said the process from this levy is not. It's not going to be used to pay legacy debts.
And that's what their FAQs also.
Absolutely. Which is inconsistent with the object of the amendment.
Okay.
That's the point I'm making.
All right. So let him clarify.
So Selorm, I don't think that there is any inconsistency here.
Okay, great.
Because the Ministry of Finance, the ministry that introduced the amendment bill, the object or the memo accompanying the bill stated the 3 key things that this increment is seeking to do. But as Minister of Energy, his biggest challenge, the biggest threat to keeping the lights on and stabilizing the power sector is the fact that we need fuel in order to power the plants. And so it's about priority. When he says that revenue raised from this levy will be used to buy fuel, it does not in any way mean that it is inconsistent with the object, because in this object it is stated that to reduce legacy debts and also to cater for the energy shortfalls that we are confronted with. So there's no, let's not try to create any problem that does not exist. But again, I am surprised that my senior brother Collins is saying that because in the budget we stated, or government stated in the budget, that we will not increase the levy, why are we coming back 3 months, 4 months later to now introduce an increment? Selorm, leadership demands that when you are confronted with a challenge, you look at all the available options and you come up with what you think is best and what can work for you. That is why even in Parliament, the law makes provision for ministers of finance to come back mid-year with a mid-year budget, because it is possible that within the first 6 months of running the government in a particular year, certain things may come up that may demand an amendment to some of the things that you earlier stated in your budget. And so there is absolutely nothing wrong with a minister coming back few months later to say that the budget that we introduced, due to the exigencies of the moment, there is the need to introduce a new levy.
Very well.
Under the NPP, when they were introducing the e-levy, their justification was that it was the panacea to solving the country's economic challenges. And they told us that if we do not accept the e-levy, Ghana will go to the IMF. We have videos. The Minister of Finance and key members of the NPP government told us that because of the e-levy, we would never go to the IMF. After the e-levy was passed, didn't we go to the IMF?
Because the e-levy didn't perform.
It didn't perform.
But they
and so
blame the NDC for poisoning the environment and making the e-levy unpopular.
No, we did not make the e-levy unpopular. Any tax that the poorest of the poorest are the hardest hit will certainly be unpopular. And so this is not. That's what I have said. I have explained to you, Collins. I have explained to you that without this levy, without this increment, 1 Ghana cedi increment in the levy, Ghanaians were buying a liter of fuel for 16 Ghana cedi under your leadership.
General economic situation
has improved. And so as we speak, prices are coming down. As we speak, the cedi is appreciating. So as we speak, the general economic environment today is far better than what we inherited. And so even with the introduction of the levy, Ghanaians are still buying fuel cheaper than you left it. And so you have no even right to even speak about hardship, because you left us in untold hardship. Ghanaians were buying fuel for 16 Ghana cedis. Even with this levy, Ghanaians will still be buying fuel for around 12 Ghana cedis. And it's a sacrifice that we are all making to ensure that we keep our lights on and stabilize the power sector. So I think that Collins, which is that we told you the truth, and we have always been honest to the people of Ghana.
So I will bring him. Benjamin Isia is an energy analyst. I'll bring him in soon. But let's clarify this properly. Roxanne is here, who speaks for the Energy Ministry. There's been a point made by Collins that there's been inconsistency. Initially, we were told that, or at some point, we were told that this was going to help retard the debt, and now this is going to be used to purchase fuel. At some point, we had the two, as if the money to be raised was so huge that it could deal with the fuel matter and deal with the debt. Now we are knowing that the debt, or we've known that the debt is 1.2, which from your FAQs, I mean, we realized that that's 12.6 billion cedis.
$3.1 billion.
That's the debt. Yes. I mean, the fuel is 1.2
yes,
billion
the fuel is $1.2
dollars. And so you peg the dollar, the exchange rate at $1 per 10.5 cedis. That brings it to 12.6 billion for the 1.2 billion fuel.
Yes.
Meanwhile, this is to just raise 5.7 billion cedis, which means even for the fuel, there will be a shortfall.
Yes.
So what is it? Clarify for us, the debt payment or fuel purchases. Your FAQs I have before me saying that it is to purchase fuel. So which is which?
Good morning to you.
Before I bring in Prof and Benjamin to do the analysis proper.
Yes, good morning to you. Good morning to your viewers. And then thank you for the opportunity. Primarily, the first obligation of the 1 cedi that has been introduced is to acquire liquid fuels for the thermal plant. If you look at primarily, take your time. Take your time.
You should watch it.
Take your time. If you look at the price build-up for electricity tariffs, there's no component for liquid fuels. And they decided to take it out. He was deputy minister at the time. The liquid fuels component in the price. You will be able to answer. That's why you are here. You're former deputy minister, so we'll get there. So you have natural gas in the price build-up, but you don't have that for liquid fuels. And if you look at our generation mix, we are doing about 70% for thermal. There are several fuel components that we use. In fact, fuels, you have LCO, you have diesel, and then you also have HFO. So depending on the circumstances and what you're relying on, you'll be required to purchase liquid fuels. This year alone is estimated that we'll buy $1.2 billion worth of liquid fuels. And over the years, the government has taken up the responsibility of providing these fuels. The government was confronted with this and had two options. It's either the government includes the cost of liquid fuels in the electricity tariff structure, or the government finds an innovative way to raise the needed funds for that. So what the government has done is that instead of passing on the cost to the consumer, which would have gone up by 68% according to PUR's simulation.
We had 53.
In fact, it's 68% according to PUR. In fact, my minister and the finance minister said over 50%. If you hear all of them say over 50%, but the actual figure is 68%. And I don't know who will be happy with 68% increment in electricity tariffs, because if you increase it to that level, eventually, if the people cannot pay, you find a lot of losses. People are going to steal power. Companies will not be able to afford. So the government considered that, okay, what are the options available? If you look at how the economy has been managed prudently, from January to date, you moved from an exchange rate of about 17 Ghana cedis to 10.3. And then because of that, it has also affected the prices when it comes to fuel. Because now, if you look at the components for fuels, you have the crude oil price on the market, you have finished product prices on the international market, and then you have the cedi. What we've witnessed in the past few months is as a result of the cedi. Because if you look at the crude oil prices, largely it's been around $60 per barrel. And then depending on the benchmark you use, normally we use Platts, the prices have been fairly okay. So government said, I mean, if you look at the gains that the people of Ghana have made due to prudent management, why wouldn't we go back to the people of Ghana to say, these are the challenges that we have in the power sector? There is enormous debt. As of now, we owe IPPs by $1.75 billion. There's a $3.1 billion when it comes to generation cost. There's a deficit every month of about 2 billion Ghana cedis, which means annually you're looking at about 30 billion if we had other incidental costs. Why wouldn't we look at the prices that have come down and then speak to the people of Ghana to support government in a quest to maintain a very robust power sector? So prices have come down to 12 or 11, depending on where you're buying it from. If you add 1 cedi to it, it will still be around the same 11 or 12. And also the cedi is still performing very well. So that's how come this introduction has been done. So that we avoid the people of Ghana paying more for electricity, paying about 68% more. And then number two, we also share the gains that we've made within the period with the people of Ghana. The people of Ghana appreciate the issues when it comes to the power sector. And then, so because of that, that's how come the price have gone up. But like I mentioned earlier, primarily is to procure liquid fuels and eventually to settle the debt. Because if you look at...
Eventually means what?
So let me deal with that. What the ministry is doing or government is doing is that the government is tackling all the issues head on at the same time, concurrently. So there's a work plan where you are dealing with infrastructure bottlenecks, where you are dealing with the fuel component, where you are dealing with the SOEs under the ministry and the challenges they have, where you are dealing with agri-technical losses for even, let's say, ECD is about 40%. So if you take the fuel component, for example, like I mentioned, we spend $1.2 billion on liquid fuel. If you are relying on natural gas, it's almost half the cost. So what are the options? One, engage the ENI to see if you can get more gas from there. ENI has assure the government that from next month going, there'll be increase in supply of natural gas. Number two, Talo has also done saying that they're going to increase. We're looking about 30 SCAF. And then also explore getting more gas from Nigeria. And even if it means that bring the private sector on.
So when we do all of that, how much of the 12.6 billion cedis
yes.
will it be?
I'll get there. So, and then also look at implementing LNG. Once you have LNG on board, definitely that means your natural gas is better. And in the long term, put together a gas processing plant too, which will reduce your costs on liquid fuel. In fact, if you have enough gas, you may even eliminate the total costs that has to do with liquid fuels. For 8 years, if they were able to at least put together a second gas processing plant, like Atwabu was done, we won't be where we are. If Atwabu was not there, if we didn't have Atwabu, I'm telling you, would have been in a total mess. Because
so the projection is what? If all these Talo, ENI, all of that.
If all of them come on stream, definitely you are not going to spend 1.2 billion. Definitely the cost.
With the 1 CD itself,
yes,
you can't get to the 1.2 billion.
Exactly. And
we can only raise about 40% of that.
Yes.
Raise 5.7.
Yes.
That's if everything is fine.
Yes.
But the thing is 12.6 billion,
yes.
$1.2 billion dollars.
Yes.
So if all of these come on stream, how much of the 12.6 billion are we cutting off?
Almost half.
Almost half
will
not even be enough.
No, almost half will be enough. And you see, like I said, that is not the only component you are looking at. You're looking at efficiency and effectiveness when it comes to the SOEs. For example,
a question of efficiency and effectiveness is great, but I don't have confidence in it because every government has spoken about that. ECG will do it, will block leakages, revenue, but it never happens. So yes, it's been put there to make people happy. That yes, government will ensure SOEs are efficient, but it's never the case.
So far, the data will show that from January to now, it's been the case when it comes to ECG.
Okay, so you hold it in. Benjamin, Prof is in the studio, but you've been listening to the discussion. I heard you earlier, you were not very happy with the 1 CD imposition. But given the explanation around the table, what is your position, once again, on the 1 CD imposition per litre on fuel?
Thank you, Selorm. The more the government speaks on this 1 Ghana cedi per litre addition to the Energy Sector Levy Act, the more I'm justified to still hold my position that we don't need this 1 Ghana cedis per litre addition. I think let me do 1 or 2 corrections, or maybe let me also add certain inputs on some of the conversation made so far. Normally, I hear government spokesperson mention that we need 1.2 billion for liquid fuel. I think the projection for liquid fuel is $33 million for heavy fuel oil. And recently, when the minister began alerting us that there was a shortage in the inflows of natural gas due to some pigging activities by WAPCO and also some maintenance activities by Jubilee, we're going to need about $189 million. So I don't know where they get the $1.2 billion from. I think the $1.2 billion should be for natural gas. And natural gas has always been factored in our tariff decision papers. As we speak, if you look at the first quarter and second quarter tariff decision papers, we projected around $7.69 or so cent, almost $7.80 per British thermal unit, and that has been factored. So, and the other part is that the reason why we don't factor liquid fuel much is that we don't want it to be a reliant fuel because we know the cost of it is very, very expensive, and for that matter, as much as we can, we want our power generators or thermal plants to rely on natural gas, and that has been factored in the tariff decision paper. So this argument of 1.2 billion, I don't know where it is coming from.
But Benjamin, so yeah, the ideal thing is to have natural gas, right? But we don't appear to have enough of that, and so that's why we are falling back on the liquid fuels. So yes, the ideal situation is there, but we've not been able to meet the ideal situation. Somehow we have to pay for the liquid fuels. Is that not why the 1.2 billion conversation is coming up?
I think we need to also make this clarification. You see, the natural gas inflows have some disruptions across the year. We're made to believe that in the first quarter, we're going to have a challenge with the inflows in January, February, and March because of the pigging activities and also maintenance of Jubilee, as I indicated earlier. ENI is also going to do some activities in September and November, and that's also likely going to have some disruptions in inflows. But in all these inflows, they don't amount to the $1.2 billion dollars people are mentioning around. So are they telling us that $1.2 billion for liquid fuel, or what they call liquid fuels, plus $1.2 billion for natural gas will cost us $2.4 billion annually for only procurement of fuels for our thermal plant? I think it is inaccurate. We need to be very.
But is it a point that the 1.2 billion rather applies to the natural gas and not liquid fuels necessarily?
That is it.
And that natural gas is being factored into the calculation already.
Yes, it's been factored there. So the 1.2 billion, I think that they should come clear on it, because we don't need 1.2 billion to procure emergency fuel, or what they call a liquid fuel. We know they are very expensive and don't want to rely on them. When we need them in smaller volumes for times that there are inflow disruptions from any of these gas suppliers. That is one. Now the other argument.
But before that, so you just mentioned that there will be some maintenance works later in the year for ENI, September, etc., and a few other disruptions that have happened. So are these projections not to cater for that, and also the inadequacy or insufficiency of the natural gas? So all of these have been factored in to arrive at the 1.2. You don't agree?
I do not agree, because I've said earlier that we need $189 million for procuring emergency fuel.
What was the source of this figure?
Gridco. The earlier said 90 million. You can go online. The earlier said 90 million. Later, they re-estimated and said 189 million that they need for procuring emergency fuel, or what they call liquid fuel. And as I indicated earlier, even if you look at the Energy Commission
for the entire year,
for the entire year, even if you look at the Energy Commission estimates for some of these products, Energy Commission doesn't actually want to estimate for emergency fuel, because they are not supposed to be a reliant fuel. So even because of ASA Energy. Because of ASA, Energy Commission projected $33 million for heavy fuel oil, and that has been captured. And we don't go the emergency fuel because we don't want to procure most of them, because of some corruption-related activities in some of these procurement that also cost us more than we are expected to pay. Because when I saw some of the estimates by Gridco with respect to this 189 million I'm speaking about, I think that we should not be buying light crude oil for a metric ton of about $1,600. But those are estimates we put there. I don't also think that we should buy, light crude oil, $100 per barrel. But that's the estimate we are putting there. I don't think that we should buy distillate oil, $1,600 per metric ton. But that's the estimate we put in the estimation of this $189 million for the whole year. So the 1.2, I think that they need to come again, because if they tell us that 1.2 if is for emergency fuel, then it means that the whole year government of Ghana is paying $2.4 billion for fuel in our thermal plants, and that is unsustainable. It cannot help sustain the industry. That is one. Now the other part, when it also comes to getting a windfall, and for that matter, consumers must support in paying for some of these shortfalls in the sector. Do you know that, Selorm, this year government is likely going to make about 9 billion savings from the appreciation of the cedi? Because if you look at the debt they mentioned, the $3 billion that they are mentioning, we are projected to pay about 27 billion as a sector shortfall for 2025. And this sector shortfall for 2025 was pegged on 15 Ghana cedis, 69 pesos to $1, because that was what was used in the tariff decision. So if the cedi has appreciated to about 10 Ghana cedis, 28 pesos, or 10 Ghana cedis, 24 pesos, it means that you don't need the $27 billion to be able to defray this year's sector shortfall. We are likely going to need about maybe 19 or 18 billion Ghana cedis to defray this cost. So in terms of the shortfall this year, because of the appreciation of the cedi, the shortfall has also declined in terms of cedi equivalent, because these are pegged in dollars anyway. So that we've made a lot of savings there. Now, if you also want to make a lot of savings, I think that you mentioned it earlier, the system losses are too huge. If you look at last year, 2024, system losses for Ghana was around 32%. Now, 32% and per kilowatt hour is today around 10 cents per kilowatt hour. So 32%, which translates to about 6,119 gigawatts of generated power that went waste. If you convert that into monetary terms,
with the tariff decision monetary terms of our 15 Ghana cedi 69 pesos per liter, Selorm, we are talking about 9 billion that has been lost through system losses or wastage in our system. So if you want to resolve any challenge in terms of saving money, I think that the very innovative way that is very sustainable is to address the issue of system losses within the shortest possible time, because wasting 9 billion, in addition to some of these savings, we will even be able to cater for some of these shortfalls we're talking about. If they're also thinking of savings to even procure other fuels, now the Minister of Energy knows that, and Green Transition knows that UPPF, which is a Unified Petroleum Price Fund on petroleum product, is today 90 pesos per liter. Primary distribution margin is today 23 pesos per liter. These are freight costs. So if freight costs, if you forced or we've convinced GPRTU, we've convinced concerned drivers, we've convinced committed and other accessories to decrease their transport fares by 15%. Same way, the MPA can save 15% of this 90 pesos per liter, and then 15% from this 23 pesos per liter. And these are in volumes. These are huge, almost 1 billion or almost 2 billion Ghana cedis. In addition to the savings from the system losses, even to cater for these for these shortfalls we're talking about. So I think that we rush, and sometimes they make argument that prices were 17 and today they are 12, they are 11, and for that matter, we need the one Ghana cedis per liter. You see, the petroleum price buildup, or the petroleum price, or the export we have locally, is a volatile market. Sometimes it goes up, sometimes it plummets. Now, if you look at the average cost of fuel over the years, I think it's on a declining scene. The only time we had an outlier was November 2022. That's the first window of November, and it was because the city appreciated with a very magnitude impact, which has an impact on export price. So we had diesel being sold around 22 Ghana cedis, 49 pesos, and then petrol being sold around 17 Ghana cedis, 99 pesos. Just in December 2022, the prices plummeted back to around 15 Ghana cedis per liter. If the previous government had imposed 1 Ghana cedi then, this current government would have mentioned or would have sung few songs that, no, why are you imposing 1 Ghana cedi, or why did you impose 1 Ghana cedi? So it's a volatile market. Prices surge, prices decline. Yes, positive for us, today prices are declining. That is good. And it is because, one, on the international market, products that we're buying on the international market as high as 723, today we are buying around 673, because on the international market prices have declined. And that has also contributed to a stable cedi, an appreciating cedi against the dollar. And that goes to the benefit of the end user. But to take that benefit with the reflective notion that prices were 17, and because prices were 17, today we are paying 12, or we are paying almost 18. And for that matter, government should bear, or government should take 1 Ghana cedi from you, doesn't also solve the issues of consumer welfare. So the more they talk on this issue about procuring, if they want to settle the debt situation in the sector, they are critical contributors of this debt. One is that we have signed PPAs.
We'll come to that. The way to settle it, that will be the next leg of the discussion. So great points you've raised there, Ben. Let me bring in Prof. Prof, interesting. So from the economic and finance point of view, what's your thinking around this levy? Did it come at a good time? Will it help? And what's your thinking around it generally?
Good morning to viewers, and good morning to my colleagues in the studio. So I think, so let's start with the timing. And I think the timing is rather curious, because considering that we are just over 2 months away from the budget reading and less than 2 months to the mid-year budget, to suddenly come up with a levy, which is a major policy, and also under certificates of urgency, I understand. I think it's quite curious, because you would think that, don't forget that there's a major tax review of our tax policy coming in the mid-year budget, or at least expected to come in the mid-year budget. During the budget, the finance minister promised that, dealing with the COVID levy has to be part of a major reform of the VAT system. So you have such a major policy review coming up. So I think to just suddenly come, it seemed to have come out of the blue. It's not something that I was actually anticipating. Now, in terms of my own attitude towards the levy, I think the levy in and of itself, paying that 1 cedi per litre in and of itself, from my point of view, is not the biggest problem. I think the biggest problem is, there are two aspects which have come up. Whether, now it appears that it is both to deal with the liquid fuel, to buy liquid fuel, as well as the debt. And I think that's where, my issue is. I would have preferred that it came as part of a broader long-term strategy to deal with our energy problems. Because, like has been mentioned before, it's not the first time this has come up. It's not the first time we've tried to put a levy to solve the problem. And, since the government came in, there's been various discussions about what we are going to do to block the challenge, the loopholes in the whole energy chain. So for me, it would have been much easier for me to pay if the government brought a plan that said, look, this is what we are going to do to plug the loopholes, transmission losses or generation losses, whatever those losses is. Tell us that this is how you are going to solve that problem. But in the meantime, the debt that is there, we are going to use this to defray the debt. I think if I had that, it would be much easier for me to pay the debt.
But haven't they said that in different forms? So, for example, we know the price waterfall mechanism, which we're told was not being applied properly, is been properly reinstated. We heard that from Jinapo. So that is a way of perhaps helping the system run efficiently and to be paying the producer, power producers, etc., so that we don't pile it up like before. So it may not have come as part of this, but it's been said before. So can't we put all of that together to address some of your concerns?
Well, so my understanding of the price waterfall, I'm not an expert in the energy sector, is what you do with what you have generated, what you have collected.
How you spread it around.
Exactly. But what about the fact that we have repeatedly heard that some of the electricity that ECG collects, it can't account for it.
The losses.
Because that one is a problem that is recurring.
That problem, some is technical, some too is commercial, and bad governance or leadership at the ECG. So, for example, if they say they have obsolete conductors, and so in that process they lose power and all of that, and so they need investment to replace those conductors and all of that. Yeah, that is long term. We cannot fix that now before we get power, or we cannot fix that now so that we defray the cost. So those I will leave for long term. The other losses, commercial losses, etc. There's corruption, there's this, there's that, procurement, all of that. We cannot fix it immediately. But this fuel matter, if we don't attend to it immediately, we will have issues. So it does appear that they've said all of these in different forms. Maybe what you're looking for is that all should have been put together.
There's a big plan.
So that we see it, yeah. Roxanne will deal with that when he gets to his time, yeah.
So I think, here is something that has been imposed in isolation. So you can say, if for instance, the communication has been, look, it's not just that we woke up one morning and we felt that, fuel prices have come down, so let us impose a tax. But, so the framing matters and how it's presented matters. So I think that, that aspect of the communication has to happen. The other thing that, I have in mind is the general equilibrium impact of the currency appreciation. And I think the fact that this has to be done so quickly and, where it's coming from. And if you put that in the broader context of, again, the budget, the cedi appreciation, the positive side has been heavily highlighted. I think the negative implication, probably not so much. I think we've heard part of that about, there's some savings or some reduction in the debt. But if you look at government's projected revenue for 2025, I think...
It's put at 15.6. The dollar cedi was put at 15.6.
So
now there's a shortfall.
So that brings an issue, and that has to be addressed. I'm sure that when we come to the media budget, it will be explained. But one of the immediate things that the appreciation would do is to reduce taxes from international trade. Because if you know anybody who is clearing goods at the port, they will tell you it's immediate. It's not something that we have to wait for the long term to see. So 2025, the government projected to collect just over 26 billion in international trade taxes. If you look at what the currency appreciation has done, now that's going to knock off at least 30%. Yeah. And then you have to find a way to deal with that, because you see, we have a target. We have a fiscal target for the year. So in some sense, maybe there could be a way.
But how about in the media budget, did they review those fiscal targets? How about if they review those fiscal targets, will it have any impact?
So yes, so it is, you review it. But you know, the government is also forward-looking. I think the people who run the finances, they won't just sit there because you can't just come in a post-election year like this. There's usually only a shorter lag between the actual budget and then the mid-year review. Instead of so from November to July, now it is March to July. So I think perhaps, you know, the JRA and the customs, they'll be looking at the revenue dashboard and they might immediately see something. And then obviously government need to find ways to plug the hole. I think that for like the main point I want to repeat is that we as Ghanaians, we know the problems in the energy sector, and we are better off accepting a 1 cedi levy, 1 cedi per litre levy, if it is indeed going to fix the problem, then wait for the whole thing to come crashing on us. Everybody knows that if we don't deal with the energy sector problems, we are not going anywhere fast. We can have all the other big plans. All these things about industrialization, 24-hour economy, anything else that we are talking about, we have to address the energy sector. My only issue is the timing and how it has been presented. I think the confusion about whether it is fuel only or it is fuel and that doesn't help. I think.
Go ahead.
So
the politicians. Go ahead.
So I think even a casual observer would have heard that at least different people have emphasized different things. So there's a document that has mentioned both. The one that was read that has mentioned both. But I think that's communication.
Collins was going on a certain tangent.
But
that's
communication for the minister because he wants to keep his lights on.
So that's communication for government people to do. But I think that from where I sit, I would have wished that this just didn't show up on a Wednesday or Thursday morning, and that it came within, whatever discussion has happened. There's been discussions about whether we are going to bring private parties.
It was midnight. It didn't come midnight. It didn't come midnight. It came in the morning. Unfortunately, didn't make a presentation midnight.
And you didn't stay there to 5 hours. You left. You left.
We couldn't. We've said we abandoned our chase, but we are not ready prepared.
You wasn't in the 5 hours. You left.
See, you saw the argument. We did our best. Midnight.
So just to find out, I think it would have been helpful if it was not only a discussion about a levy, and that the broader discussion was that we were having this in the context of all the other things you pointed out. We are thinking about private sector participation in the ECG. We are doing this so that it doesn't come across that you just want to, because things are looking better, you just want to take some levy. But it is seen as part of a broader long-term coherent strategy.
Yeah, so the levy, like you said, it's important we pay the debt and purchase the fuel. I mean, I'm trying to play the middle ground now. So it's something we had to do anyway. Is the timing rather not better? Because now it does appear we are making some savings. So 15 or 16, now to 12. I've given you 4. Give me 1 in return. And even that 1, we are not sure how it's going to affect the export price mid-month. During the second pricing window. if things get better, maybe that will be absorbed by the exchange gains. So is this not rather a better time to bring that in so that the people don't feel the pinch?
Yeah. So I think it may well happen that, I'm not sure whether they've started collecting. It may well happen that because of the momentum.
GRE is yet to.
Okay, so I think it should take effect from the next window? Or?
No, but GRE is not.
So if it happens, it means what we are paying now to go up?
No, it won't go up, and I'll deal with that.
Okay. So I think it may well happen that at the next pricing window, it doesn't go up. The fuel price doesn't go up. But I think that, where the government hasn't helped itself is that at a point where the city has appreciated and many people are happy, that we are seeing the effect on prices. But don't forget that the full impact on pricing of goods and services haven't been felt. Some traders and some, some other people who are pricing are a little bit skeptical, thinking that perhaps the stability of this or the appreciation of the cedi might reverse, and they are adopting a wait and see attitude. So when they hear something like this, then people say, well, we were right after all. We were right to adopt a wait and see attitude. So the full effect of the price reduction that perhaps should be seen, people might start thinking, let's take a hold. We are not sure what government will do next. And I think that is where the government hasn't helped itself. But if you are thinking about in the last 5 years or so, if we are thinking about any better time to impose such a levy, perhaps a period where we've seen substantial reduction would have been a good period.
Great.
But we have to look at the other angle also.
So let me take a few messages that have come through. This one from Sir Joe Baba in Bogatanga says, in fact, I never support tax that the imposers would not contribute a dime to. No government had ever inherited assets without liability. The previous government equally inherited a debt of $2.5 billion in the energy sector, but was able to keep the light on for 8 years. This one from
It's 1.9 there.
Elikem, East Amrahia Pharmacy says, if the minority is not ready to bear with government for this levy to partly solve the energy crisis, then the government should start exposing those who are behind this huge debt to the Ghanaian. That's Elikem from the East Amrahia Pharmacy. There's a very long one from Apia Adomaku. It says, Selorm, in this country, whenever consumers are about to enjoy lower fuel prices, our leaders often respond by introducing new taxes. Back in 2014, when global fuel prices dropped, the then finance minister swiftly went to parliament and imposed a 17.5% special petroleum tax. Now in 2025, we are being asked to pay an additional 1 cedi to support the purchase of fuel. In my view, the real issue lies in the poor management of our energy sector. The sector is riddled with technical and commercial losses. Corrupt practices are not prosecuted. As the distinguished Professor Boppin aptly put it, a spoiled child doesn't need more money, but discipline. Okay, so ECG remains inefficient, and the government itself is not paying its fair share for the electricity it consumes. If we do not solve the management of our energy sector well, we will be invited again in the future to pay additional levies. This is Apia Adomaku, the Executive Director, the West African Regional Director for CATS International. He's been at this for quite a bit. All right, then, so a lot has been said. Yes. What assurances do we have that this will be managed well, that persons, one of the messages said he doesn't trust taxes, which the imposers do not pay anything. No. How sure are we that this will be managed well? How sure are we that, this will not continue in perpetuity? Already, you've not seen any sunset clause there. What assurances can you give the people that this will be managed well? This will go really to deal with the problem and all of that, and maybe a bit later when things improve, this tax will be scrapped off.
So, Selorm, first let me deal with the issue of the perception that the imposers are not paying anything. That certainly cannot be true.
That's not true.
Because all of us buy fuel. As members of parliament, we do not even, as members of parliament, we are not entitled to fuel coupons. No, I'll come to the executive, but even But even with the
that's by choice.
No, I can't speak. No, I can't speak to the other minister.
Yeah, but let's even assume. But let's even assume. Okay, let's assume. If you are given, say, 500 cities worth of fuel coupons, and you present that at the station to buy fuel, it means that the quantity that you would have gotten, it certainly will reduce.
But
so
the point they are making
it's
is that
essentially
if you expend it, you go for more. So there's no
it doesn't work that way. What happens is that depending on even your level, there is an amount that you are allocated to within a month. MPs don't receive. Even at ministries, some ministers don't. Spokesperson, and I know for a fact that the energy minister also does not use fuel coupons. But I'm saying that so I'm saying, but the point is that you are saying that that's by choice. But I'm saying
like
that even assuming
also didn't take salary, even though they were entitled.
So even assuming without admitting that those who are using fuel, they also pay. They equally pay. They have, and if you are giving fuel coupons, your family, your wife doesn't use fuel coupons. It is you for your official duties. Okay, so that perception that they do not pay, it doesn't come in here. Again, government is undergoing a lot of austerity measures. I am a member of the ECG board, and I can tell you for a fact. I can tell Selorm, I can tell you for a fact that there are many things, and this is a conversation for another day. Many privileges that even the previous board enjoyed, but we were told that we came at a time that the institution is challenged and that we may not be benefiting from some of those privileges. So we are all making the sacrifices in order to see, the sector stabilize. But back to the issue of accountability, government has shown enormous faith that we are willing to account for the process of this levy. President Mahama has said that strictly we will be publishing at regular intervals. And that's what the law says. But in the past, that wasn't the case. So today, government is promising, and I trust President Mahama when he promises, because I have seen him deliver every single thing that he promised. So we will publish at regular intervals revenue, or how the account looks like. Again, we want to ring fence the revenue so that it will go strictly into the payment of, or the expenses will be for the reason why we are collecting it. In the past, we have seen how the previous government mismanaged ESLA funds. ESLA funds were used to pay pension funds and other things. Very unnecessary. That is, in its case, reckless expenditure. But we are committed to ensuring that revenue from this levy will be dedicated solely for solving the challenge, ensuring that we have a stable energy sector. And now with RTI and other avenues available, Ghanaians are free to ask regular questions about how this money is spent. And I can say that, look, recently I was having a conversation with a couple of friends. And then this conversation of some people trying to rate ministers and their performance came up. And I said, at this time, it is too early to even rate performance of ministers. But in rating the performance of ministers, don't only look at how well they are doing, but also look at the depth from which they are coming out from, they are rising from. And I can tell you that the Honorable John Jinapor inherited a very, very challenged sector. But the gentleman is not sleeping. He's working very hard. And sometimes, even at 1 a.m., 2 a.m., you are receiving information from him. He's well updated about places that even we have challenges within the energy sector, electricity, distribution, and what have you. Selorm, we inherited a challenge. But our task as leaders is not to keep complaining and complaining. We are here to fix it, and we will fix it.
Great.
And we are fixing it. And one of the ways that we want Ghanaians to support us fix it is by making this sacrifice of contributing 1 Ghana cedis per litre for all of us to have this challenge resolved. But for our friends in the NPP, I am surprised that they all of a sudden want to get to town and start talking about hardship. Selorm, We don't have short memories. We are aware. And we all lived and experienced the 8 years of untold hardship. As we speak today, all the economic indicators, we are performing better. Inflation is coming down. The CD is appreciating, and their own former vice president and flag bearer said, if the fundamentals are weak, the exchange rate will expose you. So today, because the fundamentals are so strong, solid and robust, that is why the exchange rate is favoring us. You have prices of goods and services coming down drastically. Even transport fares are coming down. Recently, I saw a release from Tipper Truck Drivers Association. Even they are cutting down the cost of selling sand or transporting your sand and all of that. So it tells you that generally the economic condition, the health of the economy is in a better place today than it was 5 months ago. And we are only pleading with Ghanaians to understand that nation building requires some tough measures sometimes. But even with this levy,
in Ghana, we've been taking these tough measures for a long time.
But this time I can tell you that yes, we have a few people who were not happy with the introduction of the levy. But I've also seen, even on social media, a number of people who have said that looking at the way the government is performing and how transparent President Mahama and the energy minister has been with the power situation, they are even willing to pay more. And we have seen some of those comments. And so I want to plead with the people of Ghana that, yes, it is not nobody gets excited just to wake up and introduce a levy to impose burden on them. But we plead with them to accept this levy, support us to stabilize the energy sector. And even with the levy, we are saying again on authority that fuel is still cheaper than it was under the NPP.
Very well. Deal with me. Prof raised a point that it's curious the timing of this, because we just came, it did appear that it came from nowhere. And the other point he made is that in 2 months or 3 months, we will see the media budget review. Why couldn't we wait till the media budget review? Is there a reason? Is it that we anticipate that the exchange rate dynamics will change? So we have to cash in now and put it there so that later we don't see it. What's the rationale? Because it just came all of a sudden. And instead of calling Senko to stay and fight for us, they also left.
You explain why. Oh, yes. So let me deal with some inconsistencies or the information provided by Benjamin. The first point is that he suggests that UPPF should be used as a source of fund for the power sector. You can't do that. The UPPF has a specific purpose. It's dedicated to the petroleum sector. You can't move that because it's available and then use it for the power sector. That cannot be. There's a regime. Yes, there's a regime there. You can't. So that's that suggestion. Number two, he disputes the figure on the natural gas and makes reference to Gridco. I think maybe he didn't pay attention to the documents properly. One, if you look at what Gridco presented, which was given to the Parliamentary Select Committee recently, they looked at mid-year to December. What he is referring to, those figures are even half of the year. They're not the full year. That's because I heard him mention that LCO, you need 116 million. That's even half of the year. Number two, if you do the full year projections from the beginning of the year till date, the government has spent more money way above what is captured here. And that is because you have a lot of these plants. We've had challenges with the supply of natural gas. Once you have a challenge, definitely you have to fall on liquid fuels. So that's how come we've spent more. So if his source is Gridco, it's either he quotes them well or he gets an update from Gridco on this. On Prof's point about the work plan, on bringing as a whole. So there's a work plan that the ministry is working with. If you heard me the first time I spoke, I said that the issues are being tackled simultaneously. It is not that one point has been, one is being tackled and the others have been left. No. Every bottleneck that has been experienced. That is why the sunset clause was not included in the act, because if things go well, within 12 months, within 16 months, within 18 months, depending on what the reviews are, we may end up going back to even abolish this one city that has been introduced. So it is not as if it's been left. No, maybe subsequently as a ministry, we have to share the work plan for people to know what the ministry is doing. I mentioned earlier that for the fuel component, the plan is to have more gas, more natural gas. That will deal with the cost. On ECG, the number of reforms, every now and then when the energy sector is up and you introduce ECG, because of the challenges and the anger there, you find that it's derailing because people tend to focus on ECG a lot. But a lot of reforms are being done. For example, ECG's procurement policies have changed. The system where ECG procures goods is left at the port. ECG has to now look for money to go and clear. It's a thing of the past. Now, the policy is that once ECG engages any supplier for goods, the goods must be delivered to the doorstep of ECG before payments will be made. And that is a structural reform to ensure that the challenges are being dealt with. If you also look at the aggregate technical and commercial losses, and eventually when ECG publishes its books for the year, you note that has reduced. We see the numbers every day.
What happened for it to reduce?
No, because of efficiency. Efficiency, basically that's what is being introduced to ensure that you have a more efficient system. If you take the commercials, the technical for example, there are areas that have challenges with transformers. For example, if you take maybe Oyarifa or Chado, originally the number of people who live there today are not the ones that were supposed to live there. So the capacity alone on the transformer is huge, and that will lead to an overload. Once there's an overload, you'll be recording technical losses. So the minister has approved that ECG should inject over 200 transformers. Look at some of these areas that you have these challenges to ensure that the transformers are replaced, those that are malfunctioned are replaced, those that can be moved or you need a bigger transformer, you move. And that's alone, that is being done, that alone has an impact on it. If you look at the challenges that we've had when it comes to peak demand, the ministry is focusing on renewable energy. Only last week Friday was Lala around Karachi to launch the mini grid solar, and also there's a policy to increase rooftops for homes and offices. All those ones will go into what our energy mix is and the effect of the liquid fuels that we purchase. So as I mentioned, that there's a work plan dealing with all the challenges. When you take Gridco, and minister will attest to it, that during the briefing there are transmission lines that are going to be upgraded. For example, as of now, when you take the Volta region, we have a 33 kV line which is weak. You're going to make sure that it increases to 161 or 330. That will also bring some efficiency in the system. So it's not as if you are looking at one side, but as at today, what is immediate that needs to be resolved has to do with the liquid fuels. Because if you are spending huge amount of money, 1.2 billion estimate on the liquid fuels, and you don't have it now, Ghanaians are going to sleep in darkness and must be dealt with. And so if you ask about why it was done under the certificate of urgency, that is the challenge we find ourselves now. Over the period, the finance ministry has been the one financing this, and it's having a fiscal impact on the budget. And the ministry has said that this cannot continue. And as a government or as a ministry, we appreciate the dynamics. So that is why the ministry looked at the moving parts, the exchange rates, the reduction in fuel prices, and decided that this is the best time.
We have this quarterly review of tariffs.
Yes.
I mean, June ends another quarter.
Yes.
So are we going to see another adjustment?
You know, it's very unfortunate, but the previous administration tied the hands of government.
But that's serious. How?
No. You signed an IMF program and said that. Yes. No. You said no. It's in the IMF documents that tariffs must be looked at. In fact, they even proceed that subsidies in the energy sector must be removed as well. So if you look at the staff level agreement, all these things are contained in there.
So by end of June, we should be seeing another tariff increment.
All things being equal, I mean PURC, PURC. They look at the factors. Like I said, they included it in the IMF document that it should be done.
You know that what you're saying is not the truth.
No, that is the case. The document is there. You can refer to it. Yeah. So at the end of the day, they will look at the factors and then a decision will be made. At a point in time, like I mentioned, PURC said if you look at the data, do 68%, but that's not the option the government went with. The government decided to go with the option of rather sharing in the gains that have been made by Ghanaians. If at the end of the day, if you're purchasing fuel, for example, yesterday I saw somebody's post says he used to buy for 1,200 for a 70 liter vehicle. As at now, he purchases the same fuel for 890 Ghana cedis. That's a reduction of about 400 cedis. So his position is that if government says that I should make a sacrifice of 1 cedi, which will take my cost from 890 to 940, which will still be almost 25% less than what he was purchasing in January. Why not? You look at it. In fact, during the stakeholder engagement, there were persons or there were groups that agreed that 1 cedi is fine. There were groups that said, looking at the mess you are dealing with, 1 cedi is too small. And there were groups that also said that.
So there was stakeholder engagement?
Yes.
But so what happened to GPRT?
No, you see, Selorm, I don't want to mention specific groups, but the engagement.
Wait, GPRT is such a key group.
Yes.
They like, it's where the rubber meets the road.
No, you see.
So you see what they are saying.
Yes, I've heard them, and I in fact 2 days ago, no, yesterday when they made that statement, I tried to reach out to them on behalf of my minister's authority, that the engagements are still ongoing. And like I mentioned, stakeholder engagements happened. It is not that it didn't happen. I don't want
because
to go
from
into
the explanation you're giving,
yes.
if they had known that,
yes.
they wouldn't say they are declaring a strike.
Oh.
Because strike about what? Because there's an increase.
You see, Selorm, like I mentioned, that there are groups that do not agree. Paying taxes is a difficult decision. When you ask people to pay taxes or levy, a lot of the times you find a pushback. But that is why the stakeholder engagements are still ongoing. It didn't spring up. Engagements have been. I don't want to mention names.
Yeah, but
if I put out the names,
you could do all of that. But
yes.
I'm saying that GPRT is such
yes.
a key group.
Yes.
For all the high level things you're doing, it is at their level that the populace will feel it.
Tell them there's no way this policy, this amendments would have been done without engaging drivers. There's no way. That's why I said I don't want to go into the dynamics of these things.
So drivers were
of course.
But GPRT has an umbrella body.
No, that's why I said I don't want to. What you are doing is to push me to put out the specific names and of the groups that engage. And I've said that.
But we all know GPRT. No, they are like the umbrella body.
That's why. See, in the last 3 days, I can tell you not on authority that my minister has had engagement from morning to evening when it comes past. No, that's what I'm saying, that even for the last 3 days,
but even
post engagement.
Yes, but I mean, even
post engagement is very important.
It's very important.
People still have
in policy formulation, Selorm, in policy formulation, in policy formulation.
To put GPRT on post.
No, not post. I didn't say that.
Selorm, in policy formulation, anywhere in the world.
I'll make the point. Let me finish.
Just land it.
Let me.
And then I'll come to you.
Okay, let me land. And
now that you're on ECG board, yes, I'll come to you.
And on ECGs, I dealt with the technical issue. On the commercial issue, if you look at what the government has approved, that there will be PSP, private sector participation, in the billing and collection of ECG's revenue. Because over the period, that's one of the challenges that we've identified when it comes to ECG. There are people that they will tell you that they even go to chase ECG, that they want to pay their bills. I've seen people that say, for 6 months, nobody has read my meter. So what's the way? If I don't want to be there and one day they will come to me and say, I owe 100,000.
Speaking about that,
yes.
Why are some people still on postpaid? Of course, I saw government's release about some people to be exempted, finance ministry, we pay directly. No, that's fine.
Yes.
But why are some people still on postpaid?
In fact, it has to do with the meters. As of now, there are meters that are in. And
postpaid.
No, prepaid. No,
yes.
prepaid.
But a lot of people are on postpaid. So I thought there was a policy to phase out that thing.
That is
forever.
That is so. It has to do with the meters. At the end of the day, it will come down to the availability of the meters, whether or not you can change somebody's meter from postpaid to prepaid. And that will be done very soon. You see that, I think about 800,000 meters in now. And that is the interesting part. All the ECG 2000 here containers, there are no meters and there are no transformers.
I don't want to get into
I don't want to go into matters. That shows you the procurement. No, that's why I said that. I was only making a point that the procurement policy of ECG.
Actually, anyone wants to deal with everything.
I'll come to that. That's why I said that goes to the heart of the procurement policy of ECG and what this government is doing as part of the broader roadmap to address some of the challenges that we face as a country.
Very well. So Collins, I mean, you have a demonstration. Is it happening?
First of all,
is a demonstration happening on Tuesday?
There are demonstrations after MS.
No, but they will demonstrate.
No, they have already demonstrations on this matter. They don't have the moral rights.
First of all, there was no stakeholder engagement.
It's not true.
Please.
It's not true.
Please. I am a member of parliament. I'm a deputy ranking member of the Energy Committee. I only saw the memorandum
in Parliament
to the amendment when we were asked to meet to join the Finance Committee for an emergency meeting. Nobody engaged anybody. So stop this. There was an engagement. GPRTU, which is the mother body that controls all drivers, was not aware. What kind of engagement are you talking about? So nobody should come here and say that there was engagement. There was no engagement. Indeed, on the day of this bill, the initial order paper did not have this particular item on it. It was later that they brought an order paper addendum that was sneaked in.
Maybe
even in Parliament.
The engagement could have been with some other groups.
Which other groups?
I don't know.
Which other groups?
Maybe, for example, the IPPs.
Which other group? Oh, please, of course. What are you talking about? IPPs want their money paid.
Exactly.
So IPPs will tell them, if you engage IPPs, that I'm going to collect money. I'm going to collect money to come and pay you.
If they were engaged,
what kind of
that's some engagement.
No, my brother.
No, but you said
I'm coming. There was no engagement. Key people like members of Parliament.
So you can make the S.
Nobody was engaged. Indeed, I'm saying I saw it on the other paper addendum at 4 p.m. when we were told to go and set a meet to consider first of all whether it was urgent as a committee. Of course, they have the numbers, so they pull through. Adam is saying that they are coming to correct the mess. Do you think if the NDC had told Ghanaians that one of the ways they intend or the processes they intend to use to correct the mess is to charge more taxes, we have voted for them?
But
was that the strategy?
That go without saying?
No. Even in their budget, the main budget, they did not indicate anywhere that they are going to charge extra levy on petroleum. They did not. So this issue about my brother, when you're speaking, I was so this whole issue about there was engagement and that we are coming to correct the mess. You did not tell us that one of the processes to correct the mess is to charge us more taxes. In fact, you indicated that in your case, you are going to reduce the taxes. That's what you said. And Ato came to Parliament, reduce some taxes, and hey, Ato is the best. That's what you did. So don't come here and say that we are here to correct the mess. You are not correcting any mess. Listen, let me tell you. Prof put it beautifully. They are having challenges with revenue. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. There's a 30% shortfall that they have to find a way of fixing that gap. That is the problem. Now, this issue about whether it's going to be used for gas, fuel, or to pay legacy debt. Listen, let's clarify it. The total revenue expected from this levy is 5.7 billion. We are being told that you need about 12 billion cedis to take care of just fuel for the year. Listen, anybody who tells you that this is going to be taking care of is going to take care of legacy debt should forget it. It's a complete lie. This money is purposely to buy fuel. Simplicity. And everybody should be clear about that.
No, but what was the difference really?
There's a difference.
I mean,
there's a difference.
Yeah, we need a light on.
No.
We need a light on.
When I started my conversation, I talked about politicians being truthful. You can't come with a memorandum, and say that I'm coming to collect 1 cedi in order to pay somebody's legacy debt. But turn now to this is the memo you brought.
No. I didn't make the point that that match.
This is the memo you brought.
Read what? That match what you brought. I thought we said that match one was amended.
No, even the amended one.
I don't know why it's important. Tell them.
Yes. I don't want to disrupt.
No. Disrupt me.
Let me just hear that.
I can read it myself.
You read the question. You read it.
I can read it myself.
Okay, let's hear it.
I'm reading this disjointively.
I'm not reading it disjointively.
The power sector is the biggest economic and fiscal risk presently faced by the country. This could lead to major crisis if not addressed. The challenges in the energy sector are quite enormous, emanating from debt, shortfalls, insufficient gas supply, and then inefficiencies. Because then I say the total energy sector as at March 2025 stood at $3.1 billion.
So his issue is with the first paragraph.
No, that's what I'm saying.
It answers the question.
Answers the question.
So you just read the first paragraph.
Take your time. I'm saying, my brother, this particular
you read the first paragraph.
You can take the document.
Okay, let's Selorm read.
It allow me to
all we have been saying.
Selorm, you don't bring two people against one and allow them to. Yes.
You have the floor.
I am saying that even the figures being bundled around, that we need 12 billion just to purchase fuel, and the fact that this levy is just going to rake in 5.7 is enough to tell you that this particular increment is not going to take care of the legacy debt.
Very well.
Simplicity.
I see.
That's the point I'm making. So this particular increment is just to buy fuel. Let's understand that.
No, I.
Oh,
Selorm, let me come in.
The 5.7 cannot even buy the total floor of the 12 billion.
Selorm, don't forget. You see, don't forget.
You spoke.
That don't forget. Don't forget. No, it's important to make this point clear. That in March, the Act 1135 sought to streamline all the energy sector levies. So by streamlining, it put together the energy debt recovery levy.
I have it here.
And all of that into
nothing
one.
Has changed.
Now this is ESLA.
Listen,
so if you increase it by 1 Ghana cedi,
my brother,
so the point is
that there was no increment.
There was no increment
necessarily.
I have addressed that issue. Already. But I'm saying that Collins, I listen to you. Allow me to.
No, I'm not. I'm on the floor now. You want to take my time. You want to take my time.
Okay, you finish.
I want to take my time.
Okay, you finish.
Don't worry about it.
The levy part.
I'm saying that.
Let me read something. The levy will serve as a dedicated source of funding to the energy sector, and the proceeds will be earmarked for the procurement of liquid fuel for power generation. Given that the current electricity tariff paid by consumer does not include the cost of fuel used for power generation.
So, Selorm,
but that makes his point.
That's the point I'm making.
He's saying that it's not to retard.
Thank you. That's the point I'm making.
When I spoke earlier, the first point I made was that primarily that is the use of this.
So it's okay.
And that, no, let me. Why you can't say it's okay?
I'm on the phone now. You have to take my time.
Primarily, and then once you are dealing, no, once you are
take my time.
Just 30 seconds.
No, I'll not give you 5 seconds.
Once you are dealing with
I'll not give you.
Then you'll be able to.
This memo, it came with a fiscal impact analysis report.
Yes.
He says that he's going to rake in 5.7 billion.
Yes.
Fundamental.
And that's what we've all said.
Oh. And you are
the
telling
cost of fuel is 12.6 billion.
Thank you.
So it means that
it's a support.
No, take your time.
Yeah, but if you cannot be supported to the fullest, some be left to pay the debt.
No, listen. I think that
from January to
no.
Selorm, let me come in.
No, I'm on the floor.
Let's know that.
The point is that simplicity, the amount they are going to rake in with this 1 cedi increment cannot even take care of the total cost of fuel. So this money has nothing to do with legacy debt. Let's settle that point.
So that's the.
Now his point is that primarily, which means that initially this money is going to be to buy fuel.
Yes.
Let's Ghanaians understand that that's what you want to do.
But that's what.
But what Ghanaians care about is their lives.
Their lives.
You see the problem.
No one Ghanaians care about their lives.
I get you, but the argument they've been making is that we left some debt. And then we are bringing this to take care of the debt.
Very well.
That's the point I'm making.
So that's the other point they've made.
That settles it. Now, I'm not up to deal with some of the issues he raised about the quarterly adjustment. The quarterly adjustment, and that it was an IMF conditionality. You see, PRC has been doing quarterly adjustment even before the IMF negotiations.
But like the quarterly, the strictly quarterly
adjustment. Yes, PRC have been doing quarterly adjustment. In fact, I asked this question when PRC appeared before us, that the adjustment you are doing, is it because of the IMF program? He says no. It is our mandate to do a quarterly review based on what will happen within every quarter. It's exchange rate, the mix.
But how come we are seeing it more pronounced now post-IMF?
I'm coming. Even the IMF thing that they are talking about, the IMF didn't say increase adjustment. It didn't say that. The IMF said make sure that your pricing reflects your exchange rate situation at any particular point in time. So don't come here and tell me that
reflects exchange rate or reflects market pricing.
Market dynamics.
No, there are 3 main things. Yeah. Exchange rates, and that's the market dynamics. Markets, the exchange rates in the system. One, your energy mix, and all that. But I'm saying that PRC does not do quarterly adjustment necessarily because of the IMF negotiations. It is something they do all the time. In fact, because of this, I asked PRC, now that we are having some gains on this exchange rate, is it going to reflect in the next window? Are we going to get a reduction? They say no. This is what he said. He said, oh, no. And that there are some other things, some debts there that we have to recoup. Please. You left a debt. That's what debt. We can discuss that.
Everybody leaves debt.
Everybody leaves debt. We can discuss debt. We can discuss debt. So PRC does not do quarterly adjustment because of IMF negotiations.
My issue is, it's post IMF, we've seen this more.
Then maybe you were not paying attention to PRC bulletins.
Maybe they were not doing it as frequently as they do.
No, I'm saying that maybe you are not paying attention to PRC bulletins.
We always follow.
No, PRC does quarterly adjustment.
When they do it, you don't even have to hide it because we will feel it.
My brother, if you go to PRC website today, go and check tariff announcement. It is done quarterly, and they've been doing it for the past so many years. It is not because of an IMF negotiation. And I'm saying that even the IMF negotiation did not tell you that your quarterly adjustment should be upward adjustments.
But we know that we've always said that the tariffs we pay are not commensurate with market dynamics.
I'm saying that he should not be saying that PUR should be doing adjustment because of something re-signed.
That's a fact.
But PUR would have been doing the quarterly adjustment anyway. That's the point I'm making. Okay. They would have been doing it anyway because they do it every quarter.
But the other concern is that this money to be used for energy, fuel, etc. If you had made enough investments in that sector, maybe now we hear NDC wants to, or the government wants to build another phase 2 of the Atomo,
fantastic
etc.
idea.
All of those things could have been done. I mean, to improve how much fuel or gas we get from those sites.
Bro,
if those things had been done,
I'll be a hypocrite. I'll be a hypocrite if I don't support the gas, the GBP2, because in our time he knows a certain process was triggered to get a GBP2. Unfortunately, it couldn't see the light of day. So once I supported this some time ago, I don't think I should be a hypocrite to say I don't support it.
So with all the things you have said,
if they are able to do it, it will really bring the cost of the whole chain, about 50% of it are gone off. So it's a very good idea. It's a very good idea.
And how much time will you need to put that?
It takes about 2 years.
2 years. Okay.
So it takes about 2 years
to implementation committee.
Yes, they've now put together a technical committee to look at the modalities. And I'm sure it will come back to Parliament probably for us to look at.
Yes.
But the idea of getting a second gas processing plant, I don't think anybody should be against
So in the face of all of that we've discussed, what happens to your demonstration this week? Will it happen?
Well, first of all, I got to know of the demonstration just about yesterday. Yesterday. It has not been discussed as a committee. I think it was.
But it's been out to the public.
Mr. Nodon Press, I think when I called him and I asked him that, what did you actually say? And he says that he's heard other well-meaning Ghanaians complain about it, and that as a minority, as a minority, we will be prepared to support any move that will send a signal to government about our dislike to this particular imposition. That is my understanding I got from him.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Benjamin, so I know you have a few things to respond to, but quickly. So what's the way forward in all of this? So 1 cedi per litre, it's been passed, it will happen. What's the way forward? We need to deal with the sector. A number of things have been said. What's the way forward in all of this?
Franklin was on the line.
Yeah, but he's not.
I've always said that for us to sustain the sector, we need total reforms. And one is that we need to visit the Ghana Energy Sector Recovery Program report and also really look at some of the recommendations in that particular report. First of all, we need to look at some of the contracts we have with the independent power producers because we have those contracts based on availability and not based on production. And anytime some of them are even idle, we have to pay for them being idle. And that costs us huge sums of money in the excess of $400 million annually. So if you want to cure the debt situation in the power sector, we need to really look at that. We also do have gas supply contracts, which also cost us almost $800 million. And I think I've read somewhere where Talo, Ghana, and ENI are threatening government that they are likely not going to push a lot of gas or produce a lot of gas to feed into the GPP2 that we are talking about. And if they are not able to do that, it means that the GPP2 may have challenges with respect to processing or with respect to source of gas to process. And also, we also need to look at the cost-reflective tariffs. I think I do agree with Collins that in the third quarter, the end-user tariff are expected to decline. And I say so because the last time we had tariff adjustment, which reflects the first and second quarter of 2025, tariffs were expected to increase by 6.2%. However, PRC in their simulations made us know that they were increasing it 14.75% because there were some arrears in the third and then fourth quarter of 2024, which was about almost $1 billion Ghana cedis, and the end user ought to pay or must pay for that. So they reflected that in the first and second quarter, hiking the tariff percentage to about 14.75. So we paid for that. Within the energy mix, they used 29 for hydro and then 71 for thermal. Within the exchange rate, which are also some of the determinants of the tariff, they use 15 Ghana cedis, 69 pesos, and they also use the WACO, which is around almost $8 per British thermal units. Fortunately for us, they actually use $7.62
per British thermal unit. Fortunately for us, and inflation was around 22% anyway. Fortunately for us, the key determinants of end user tariff are exchange rate and also inflation. The proposition from government has been that we don't pay for the emergency fuel, which I still have my doubt about the 1.2 billion anyway. And if they are telling us $1.2 billion today, then they should also be able to prepare to tell us how much we are spending on gas for this particular year, because we cannot spend 2.4 billion for procuring fuel for power sector production. I think there should be that clarity on that. Now, with that too, when you look at the end user tariff, the main considerations are the exchange rate. When we use 15.69, today the exchange rate is around 10 Ghana cedis 24. So it means that end user tariff beginning July must reflect very lower than what we are paying for. If you look at inflation, we use 22. Today, inflation is around 18%. And mostly, historically, we have been using historical data to set end user tariff. So it means that end user tariff must come down. They should not even come and tell us that they are likely going to increase. They are going to input reserve margin of about 18% of capacity into the tariff structure. I think that would be unfair to Ghanaians, because already Ghanaians are paying that through the energy sector levies anyway. I don't want to hear, or I will not be happy, and any Ghanaian will not be happy when we hear that they are going to now put emergency fuel in the tariff structure, whilst they inform us that the 1 Ghana cedis they are taking from us is to procure fuel, which I do not agree with any, because some of the figures they are bringing out, I think they are too higher for the end user. Now, the other part with respect to some of these corrections in the power sector, as I indicated earlier, is that we are losing 9 billion Ghana cedis as a result of system losses. We need to clamp down system losses. PRC benchmark is 21%. As a country, there must be certain KPIs, there must be certain timelines in informing us how we are going to address these 32% system losses in this year too, the PRC benchmark, or even better than what PRC has given us. And that even saves us a lot of money from the sector to be able to defray some of this debt. The last part is that exchange rate has always been a major deterrence of our ability to offset sector debt. Fortunately for us, the exchange rate is doing quite well, and that's why I mentioned that in the energy sector, for the first time in about 4 years or 5 years, we are likely going to get some surplus income from that particular sector. Because if you look at every month, cash waterfall mechanism during the ex-Wal government, they used to pay around $43 million for category A beneficiaries. If you look at the March and February of this year, we paid $50 million to category A, $56 million to category A. It means that because of the performance of the city, we are likely going to get about 126 million per month on power sold to end users. So we are likely going to make a lot of windfalls. And if you really and efficiently use these windfalls well, some of these debts will be catered for in the shortest possible time. Now, lastly, before I leave, I think my brother Richmond mentioned that UPPF is meant for some specific freight costs. Yes, it's true. That is what Section 66 of the Act says. But he knows, and even Collins knows, that in their time and in this current time, we pay government appointees or state agencies 40 million out of the UPPF, 40 million Ghana cedis per month out of the UPPF. That's our 480 million Ghana cedis month. Yes, for fuel usage. Some agencies take their fuel from GOEL, and we petroleum consumers pay for this fuel through the UPPF. As we speak, we pay almost 7 to 8 million Ghana cedis a month to what we call the Petroleum Hub Development Corporation, which even I do not agree with that particular corporation, but we take that money from UPPF to pay them. So to say that we cannot save from UPPF and redirect that to other sectors of the economy, I think it's not what we should promote. I think that the UPPF is giving us surplus income because of freight costs, and if you have forced the GPRT and others to reduce that freight cost by 15%, I think that we are not even reducing it anyway, because when I think around 2022, the UPPF was around 20 pesos rather. From 2022, in 2022 last ending, it jumped to 75 pesos per liter. As we're speaking, it's 90 pesos per liter. And 90 pesos per liter because prices of petroleum products, which are critical inputs of operating freight in Ghana, had gone high. So the MPA also increased it higher. Today, if we are selling petroleum product as low as maybe 12 Ghana cedis, 40 pesos for diesel, which is the main petroleum product they use in these freight activities, then it also means that it's either we reduce the UPPF on the price build-up, or we tell Ghanaians that we are saving some amount from the UPPF to redirect into other sectors of the economy to support defray some of this there. So I do not agree with the one Ghana city. If actually they say they are buying fuel with it, even per his own analysis, he said that what I mentioned, 160, 189 is for half year. So if 189 is for half year, the full year is not up to the 1 billion they are telling us. The full year cannot be about to 1 billion. The full year should be around maybe 500 something million dollars. And that even I think is on the higher side. Looking at the disruption will be only in September and also in November. And we know the quantum in terms of standard cubic feet per day that we are losing. For example, when we had pigging with WAPCO and also Jubilee Maintenance, in March we're losing 50 million standard cubic feet.
Very well.
When E&I also started, we are going to lose. So the 1.2 billion, I think that there should be that clarity on it. We are not buying fuel 1.2 billion. It's untrue.
Very well. So I'll take a short break and then take the final submission from my panelists on this matter. But let me take a few messages, just two of them. Good morning. This one from Prince Henry in Ketu North. Prince Henry, from Koforidua to Ketu North, this is another Prince Henry. The minority decision to go on a demonstration in solidarity with the Ghanaians because of the additional 1 Ghana cedi levy baffles me. The same party that brought fuel price from below 10 cedis per litre to about 16 cedis per litre, with justifications are demonstrating today when fuel price, even with the 1 Ghana levy, is about 12 cedis per litre. If they are actually for the Ghanaian people, their demonstration should begin with an apology for the mismanagement of the economy in the last 8 years. Prince Henry Ketunov. Achu from Tema says, Ghanaians are ever ready to pay tax if only Ghanaians are going to realize the benefits of the tax. Please just go and negotiate with the stakeholders. It's better late than never. But don't come later and say anything about Doom. Bear in mind that best ingredients for economic development is citizens' confidence. All right. So we will take a short break. When we come back, I'll hear from Prof, I'll hear from Edem, I'll hear from Roxin, then Collins will crown it all. Then we move to our next topic. This is The Big Issue, 97.3 City FM on Channel 1 Television. Don't go away.
Calling all farmers, agribusinesses, and innovators, this is your chance to shine. Channel 1 TV invites you to exhibit at AgriFair 2025, one of Ghana's largest agricultural exhibitions. From Friday 20th to Sunday the 22nd of June, the A4 Sutherland Children's Park in Accra will come alive with the very best from Ghana's agribusiness sector. Are you a farmer with fresh produce of any kind? Be it crops, livestock or poultry, fisheries or aquaculture, or you're a supplier of agro inputs and processing machinery, this is your platform to connect with the world. AgriFair 2025 is more than an exhibition. Showcase your fresh produce, share your expertise and experience, and grow your business. So, to all farmers with fresh produce, livestock or poultry, fisheries or aquaculture products, come, sell, network, and expand your business. AgriFair 2025, where culture meets innovation. Register now to secure your spot. Call us on 0205 973 973. Come on, come all. Enjoy the freshest farm produce at unbeatable prices. And treat yourself to sizzling kebabs made from beef, mutton, pork, chicken, and more. Great taste, great value. Don't miss out. The AgriFair 2025 is powered by Channel 1 TV with support from 97.3 City FM and is proudly sponsored by the Ghana Exim Bank, Legacy Crop Improvement Center, Development Bank Ghana, and Agri Impact Limited.
Yeah, welcome back. This is The Big Issue. We are discussing the 1 Ghana cedi per litre levy mixed reactions. Others say it's good, others say it's not, and a whole lot. So we're just about concluding that discussion. Professor Sumi is here. He's an economist at the University of Ghana, and just his final thoughts on this. Prof. So yes, the levy has come. Nothing much to do about it, rather than discuss and see what we can do. What is the way forward? I mean, the whole issue is about the energy sector debt, purchasing fuel, etc. What's the way forward? What can we do to ensure that the people, even though are not happy with it, or people may not be happy with paying taxes, what can we do to lessen the feeling that they are paying 1 cedi per litre for the fuel they buy?
Yeah, you are right. I mean, it is here. Whether we like it or not, it is here. So, but I think it's important for the government that, you know, when you bring a levy and it comes with a promise, it's absolutely important that you deliver on the promise. I think among many other challenges, one of the big things that the e-levy did was that it came with a particular promise, and we paid the levy, and that promise was not fulfilled. So I think it's absolutely important that, if we say it is going to help us to procure the fuel, let's not come back 2 months down the line with another explanation. I think, and I hope that, the government has taken all other factors into consideration before bringing this, because, the government has started very well, and it still has a lot of goodwill. There's a sense that this may erode part of the goodwill. But I think if ultimately Ghanaians begin to see the fruits of paying this levy, I think perhaps ultimately it might die down. But if along the line, we say mid-year budget or afterwards, some other story comes up, I think then Ghanaians will not be very pleased with it.
So PRC is expected to review tariffs end of June. It's something they will do. And if we are reviewing tariffs, it will not come down. It will obviously go up because of the issues. How should we be preparing for that? Because this obviously will hit government hard in terms of the public commentary, perception, feeling from the citizenry, thinking that they are supposed to be getting some reliefs. And now here we are, just a few months before the tariff increases. We've seen some 1 cedi, and then now tariffs will also go up. How should government be looking at that?
I think, from what I said, it's important that we don't bring that process into the political arena and the political discussion, because it threatened to come up when we heard some groups. One person says, "Oh, you left us with the quarterly review," and that person
but that's a reality. It will come up. It will come to the public.
I think we shouldn't forget. I think there's been one review already this year.
Yes.
Where tariffs have gone up, and it hasn't generated much of a furor. Perhaps part of that is that people are beginning to see that there's been some cushioning from the currency appreciation. But, we know why this review is being done. I think in time past, one of the arguments that have frequently been made is the currency problem. So I think that's where PRC are going to struggle to explain. If they come up with a huge increment, they have to explain to Ghanaians. Usually in the past, you say, a lot of things are procured in foreign currency, and the currency has lost value. So that is the justification. Now that in the past at least 2 months, we've seen that the currency has done well. If they bring a huge increment to it, they have to come and explain to Ghanaians. I just hope that, making sure that the energy sector is sustained is of ultimate importance for Ghanaians. So I hope that whatever it is reasonable, and it's ultimately doesn't feed into the political debate. And but I mean, if we have to increase to ensure that the sector is sound, we just have to do it rather than postponing it. One of the issues we've had is that even though there was supposed to be quarterly review, there was a stretch that it wasn't done, and then we have to see a huge increment at a go. That one bites more. But if the increment happens regularly, like we've seen with the fuel, the fuel sometimes it goes up, but because it's done more every 2 weeks, when the increments they don't accumulate. So if you allow it to accumulate, and then suddenly we have to see a 50% increment, then it becomes a problem.
So the cedi dollar, the exchange rate is a key determinant in all of this. Realistically, I mean, from your experience, how far will the city, or how long will it keep rallying? I mean, are we supposed to be optimistic that it will keep at this for a while? So what was realistic to expect?
Well, I think we have to listen to what the president has said, and then what the governor has said, which, you know, it seemed to be saying different things. The governor at the last MPC meeting appeared to say that they don't have a target. The president, saying that he has been in conversation with the governor and the finance minister, is clearly telling us that there's their understanding of what the true value is between 10 and 12. At the moment, we are at the 10. I think if the last time I was here about the currency, I said that the more we allow the currency to appreciate, the less sustainable it will be. It appears that if you look at our current external position, we have what it takes to sustain that range for a while, probably up to the end of the year. But, you know, I think what we have done, we still haven't solved the root cause. You know, the root cause of our economy that is too dependent on imports, of an economy that is too dependent on foreign financing. We haven't had that. And I was quite worried when, within the last week or so, there was a discussion about reopening. I think the president gave some 8 points to some group and talked about reopening access to the bond and the capital market. That worried me, because we have to solve the economy's real sector problems before we even think about going back, because we've seen what that can do to the economy. So at the moment, I think over the, probably for the rest of the year, if you look at our reserve position, if we continue to stay where it is, and the gold prices continue to stay where they are, then it's fair to expect that we could be able to keep it in the 10 to 12 range that the president has communicated.
There's some discussion, I don't know whether it's pedestrian or not, that let's make it appreciate further to single digits, then take advantage of it and pay some part of our debt. Because the president said that mere appreciation of the cedi is creamed off some 150 billion cedis of our debt, so that if it appreciates and the dollar comes down, you pay the debt, a huge part of it if possible, then that reduces your debt portfolio. That should be a good idea, or it doesn't really work that way?
That is not looking at the impact of currency appreciation broadly. We are not looking at the general equilibrium impact, because we've also seen there was a reason why the Federation of Ghanaian Exporters visited him.
Yes.
I think when you allow your currency to appreciate too much, you are just giving the incentive for more importation. And then, the government has a strategy. It has its own program, 24-hour economy. It rests on domestic production. And if you are giving incentive for importing, you are not actually achieving that particular strategy. Then you also have to think about, there are other aspects. So we spoke about the exporters. But, so there are many angles. One is, even with the gold purchase program, we are purchasing the gold in cedis. That's my understanding. But at what rate? So if you drive down the currency too low, then the gold producers, what are you doing to their incentive to sell the gold to the Bank of Ghana in the first place? So there are many aspects to the currency appreciation. I think because we are primarily an import-dependent economy, and the appreciation means that things are getting cheaper. Yes. But we have to think about what is the implication for domestic production, export, job creation. Every time we are importing more, we are just exporting our jobs elsewhere. So I think that we can't just look at the one-sided. Of course, it will help make the government government books look better on some sides. But look, even that today, I was just pointing out to you, you are going to lose revenue at the port. Perhaps if you balance all things out, you say it will be a net gain for the government. But I don't think that's what the government wants to think.
Great. Adam, yes, so we are here, efficiency and all of that. How do we proceed with efficiency in the sector so that the energy debt that we see today does not balloon come end of 4 years or come end of 8 years?
So, Selorm, fortunately, the burden of the 1 Ghana cedi levy is not a permanent decision. President Mahama has said...
Even though there's no sunset clause.
There's no sunset clause, but President Mahama has said that as we make progress, as we stabilize the sector, it will be taken off. And so for me, that is reassuring enough, because it is better than attaching a sunset clause and then later maybe defaulting on it. I mean, we've seen that in previous administrations where they told us Levy will make sure that we don't go to IMF. They went to IMF. They told us that they were going to move us from taxation to production. They moved out to more taxation. And so we understand the need for us to act in a way to get the confidence and to get Ghanaians to trust us more. And indeed, it is because Ghanaians trust us. That is why they voted for us in December 2024. So we will not betray their trust. And that is why we are so transparent with them. And we came back to them and we are telling them that these are the difficulties we have inherited. Help us navigate our way out of these challenges so we can give you a robust and a sustainable energy sector. But Selorm, the issue of efficiency, all institutions within the energy sector are being asked by the sector minister to live up to expectation. And for the first time, for as long as I have been in politics, the energy minister, maybe you may not be aware, but the energy minister has asked key directors and managers in all the state institutions within the energy sector to sign performance KPIs. So even with ECG, MD, managers at the various lines, departments are signing performance contracts. Up to district level. So yeah, up to the district level. That for me is a paradigm shift. Some radical departure from what was the situation. So all of us have been asked, even as a board, we have been given KPIs, clear commitments to achieve. If not, you are out. So that for me tells me that you have a leadership that is not only interested in solving the problem today for political gains, but in fixing the structural challenges that we inherited. Selorm, it may interest you to know that because of election 2024, PURC decided not to increase utility tariffs in the last quarter because they wanted to create a perception to the Ghanaian people that ECG bills or utility tariffs are down. But all those things have contributed to the challenge that we are facing today. So what we are seeing today is a government that is committed to fixing the structural challenges. How are we approaching it? The phase 2 of the gas processing plant will soon come to stream. And I know for a fact that Ghana Gas is working very hard to have the phase 2 established. And I've heard the minister, seen him have stakeholder engagement at all levels. Again, also for ECG, we are working so hard to reduce the system losses. As we speak today, one of the challenges that we are confronted with is the fact that revenue collection at ECG is very, very abysmal. So how are we confronted today? Apart from schools, hospitals, and the presidency, all other state institutions, all other para-state institutions or agencies are being asked to pay for the electricity that they consume.
Prepaid.
Yes, and many of them are being put on prepaid meters. So without it, you will not be able to even get electricity to use. But in the past, many of the state institutions, I know for a fact there are some state institutions that are owing ECG in excess of 5 million and all of that. So we are addressing all those challenges by ensuring that apart from schools, hospitals, and some key security installations, all other state institutions are being asked to pay. And then beyond that, we are also working hard to ensure that we increase the revenue collection. And that is why there is some school of thought and a proposal from the government, and I'm told cabinet has agreed to it, that if it is possible, we must privatize the revenue collection aspect of ECG's work. This will ensure that we increase revenue collection, and then we reduce the losses in terms of the ones that we are unable to collect. This morning I woke up and I was surfing the internet. I saw a friend of mine post on Facebook that ECG is an institution that it appears as though they don't even want you to be their customer, because to chase meter was a difficult thing, and I know constituents who wake up, come to you at home as MP, and all they want is for you to help them get meter. Now, for them to pay, and they were not even asking for these meters for free. Now, the question I ask myself is that these people, if you delay in giving them the meter, that is why they will find an alternative, and that is why many people are doing illegal connection, though not justified. That is why in many homes, many communities, 20, 30 people are using one meter, and then at the end of the month, several challenges, because somebody tells you the whole week my fan has been off, and so you cannot charge me this amount of money. And we are trying to address all of that. So as a board and an ECG, I know government has approved some meters are coming in for us to ensure that we provide the meters. Even after the installation of the meters, those who are on postpaid in many districts, it is even difficult to find the officials going or coming to you with a bill asking you to pay.
Very well.
My house in Tajebu, in my constituency, as a patriotic citizen, on many occasions, I had to call the district office and ask, that
bring a bill.
It's more than a month. Won't you bring a bill?
Don't you want money?
Because, don't you want money? Because I never wanted a situation where, due to their inefficiency, the bills will pile up, and one day they will come out and say, those who are owing in this area, and the MP's name has been mentioned. And so I make it a point that every month, when I take my salary, utilities must be paid, and all these other obligations to the state. So sometimes we even have to call the ECG of now. All these inefficiencies, I am happy to inform you, Selorm, that the Energy Ministry is working to resolve all those challenges. I will plead with Ghanaians to bear with us the difficult decision to impose 1 Ghana cedi additional levy as part of the ESLA builder, but it will pay off. It will pay off because we will have an energy sector that is debt-free. We will have an energy sector that is sustainable. We will have the lights on, and we will have an energy sector that is able to power the industrialization agenda of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. Let us all support the Honorable Minister for Energy and the Finance Minister and the government as a whole to deliver.
Great.
I am confident that though a difficult decision, Ghanaians will pay, Ghanaians will bear with us, Ghanaians will support us to address these legacy challenges within the energy sector. Selorm.
Roxanne, your final words. I mean, 1 cedi per litre. Very soon we may see PURC increases. We don't know what the media budget review will bring. I mean, that gradually may be chipping away some goodwill, and that should be a concern for you.
Selorm, it's better to do the right thing than to do what is convenient. Because as of now, as a ministry and as a government, we recognize the difficulty that we find ourselves. The president, like I mentioned earlier, is not fixated about taxing people or introducing levies. What the president wants, his commitment is that at all material times, Ghanaians enjoy stable supply of power at affordable price. If you are a president or you are the Minister for Energy and Green Transition, and you recognize the difficulties that you find ourselves, you recognize the hole that we find, you see the raw data each day, and you see that supply of electricity is threatened, what do? You have to take the difficult decisions. Like I mentioned, the president or the government was confronted with 2 options. Do you want Ghanaians to pay 68% more because you want to charge liquid fuels on the current electricity tariffs, which is not part? Or you would find an innovative way of ensuring that you introduce an indirect tax where the impact is minimal. And that is the option that the government has gone with. If the electricity tariffs had the fuel, that's the liquid fuels component included, we won't be having this conversation. And back to 2015, we've been here before. In the petroleum sector, at a point in time, it was a regulated sector by government. And years later, the government introduced the deregulation policy in the supply part. In 2015, under His Excellency the President, he introduced the deregulation policy for pricing. At the time, there were several under-recoveries. There were forex losses, and the BDCs were after the government at the time. What did the government do? The president at the time took the bold decision of introducing the full cost recovery to ensure that we have a sustainable petroleum sector. Today, what do we see? We haven't had fuel shortages since anyone can remember, because you have the private sector in there, you have the government institutions playing that role, because at the end of the day, you are guaranteed the deregulated market. Some OMCs are doing 11.5, others are doing 12.1, others are doing 12.5. It's where you prefer to go. And this is as a result of a policy direction. And eventually that is where the government aims to get to, that you have a full cost recovery when it comes to electricity, because you can't keep having these challenges over and over again. And you can't also keep at having a tax like ESLA, which should have been there for just 5 years. The initial one was passed in 2015. But you found a government that came in, mismanaged the funds, channeled the funds into areas where were not even part of the basis of passing the law in the first place. So yes, the decision is difficult. Having a vehicle and not having fuels will mean that your vehicle is practically useless. The NDC government under John Mahama dealt with the generation capacity. At a point in time when the previous administration came to office, you heard them say, oh, we have excess capacity. We have excess capacity. They've signed too many PPAs. And that if we execute, or you're going to have 11,000 megawatts in the country, which is over and above what our peak demand is. That is where we'll work to get to. That once the generation capacity has been dealt with, you also deal with the transmission, you also deal with the distribution part of the electricity supply chain. And at the end of the day, the people of Ghana will enjoy sustainable power. So we plead. I mean, it's not ideal, but in the circumstances, that is the best option available. So we plead with the people of Ghana to support government. Be rest assured that consistently there will be publication of how much has accrued in the fund, and most importantly, accountability. What the money has been used for. And eventually there will be reviews, periodic reviews. Once we are making progress, once you are dealing with all the challenges, the bottlenecks, at a point in time, I'm rest assured that the tax will be reviewed. Either will be reviewed downwards, or if the factors support, will even be repealed. Basically, that's where the government wants to get to. So, yes, at the end of the day, it's still a net gain. That is the honest truth. If you look at, like I mentioned, the fuel prices, where we are today, where we were in January, and how much savings the people of Ghana enjoy, it's still a net gain. The 1 cedi will not, at the end of the day, put prices over the roof for us to get to the 17, 23 cedis at a point that we're purchasing. We will still be within range, and that if the factors change, we want to assure the people of Ghana that the government will take a second look at it.
All right, thanks. So that's Richmond. Roxanne, thanks so much, Richmond. So we'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll move to the next leg of the discussion, which has to do with the OSP and Kenneth Furata. He's been declared a wanted person as a fugitive from justice. We've seen the Interpol red notice. So Kenneth Furata, as we speak, is now a wanted man. We don't know how the process is going to play out, whether he's going to be extradited to Ghana after he's been seen. I don't even know whether he is in hiding. We don't know. But it's interesting days, and we will see how it pans out. We'll discuss that after this short break. This is a big issue. Don't go away.
This June, the business wave is back, and it's bigger than ever. The City Business Festival 2025 on City FM and Channel 1 TV, where it's all about business. This June, we will be celebrating Ghanaian businesses, re-examining our business modules and practices through our business fora, and sharing knowledge through our on-air business discussions. Make a business date with the on-air series every weekday at 9 a.m. on the City Breakfast Show on 97.3 City FM and 10 a.m. on Breakfast Daily on Channel 1 TV. From expert interviews to real-world insights to the tools you need to grow. Don't miss a single moment this June. It's the City Business Festival 2025, celebrating everything business. Only on City FM and Channel 1 TV. Your business, your future, your time is now. Stay tuned, stay inspired, and let's grow together. The City Business Festival 2025, celebrating everything business.
The City Business Festival 2025 is powered by 97.3 City FM and Channel 1 TV, and it's proudly sponsored by Absa Bank, MTN Business, and Zonda Tech Ghana Limited.
Curious about what's happening beyond your borders? Beyond Borders takes you there. Every Wednesday at 7 p.m., join Caleb Kuda as he explores the stories that shape our world, connecting you with Ghanaians in other cultures and seeing the world through their eyes.
So we've learned one thing: you leave your shoes outside.
Wow. Tuesdays,
yeah.
you know, I won't go to Ghana dressed in a Lacoste.
As director of operations.
From international politics to the human stories that define nations, Beyond Borders brings you a fresh perspective of Ghanaians around the world, one conversation at a time. Beyond Borders with Caleb Kuda airs Wednesdays at 7 p.m. only on Channel 1 TV.
Looking for the latest buzz in Ghana's entertainment world? Welcome to Ghana Weekend, your ultimate destination for all things creativity and entertainment.
Stay in the loop with breaking news, exclusive interviews, and then insider stories from your favorite creatives and stars. From music, movies, fashion and art, lifestyle and culture, Ghana Weekend brings it all together. Get a daily dose of entertainment, discover new talent, and never miss out on the creativity that defines our vibrant culture.
Stay connected with us across all platforms. Follow us on Instagram with the handle Ghana Weekend, on X Ghana Weekend, on TikTok Ghana Weekend, at Ghana Weekend TV on YouTube for the latest in entertainment, travel, and everything Ghana. Don't miss out. Join the Ghana Weekend family today. Ghana Weekend, where entertainment meets creativity. Visit GhanaWeekend.com now.
Calling all farmers, agribusinesses, and innovators, this is your chance to shine. Channel 1 TV invites you to exhibit at AgriFair 2025, one of Ghana's largest agricultural exhibitions. From Friday 20th to Sunday the 22nd of June, the A4 Sutherland Children's Park in Accra will come alive with the very best from Ghana's agribusiness sector. Are you a farmer with fresh produce of any kind? Be it crops, livestock or poultry, fisheries or aquaculture, or you're a supplier of agro inputs and processing machinery, this is your platform to connect with the world. AgriFair 2025 is more than an exhibition. Showcase your fresh produce, share your expertise and experience, and grow your business. So, to all farmers with fresh produce, livestock or poultry, fisheries or aquaculture products, come, sell, network, and expand your business. AgriFair 2025, where culture meets innovation. Register now to secure your spot. Call us on 0205 973 973. Come one, come all. Enjoy the freshest farm produce at unbeatable prices. And treat yourself to sizzling kebabs made from beef, mutton, pork, chicken, and more. Great taste, great value. Don't miss out. The AgriFair 2025 is powered by Channel 1 TV with support from 97.3 City FM and is proudly sponsored by the Ghana Exim Bank, Legacy Crop Improvement Center, Development Bank Ghana, and Agri Impact Limited.
Yeah, welcome back. Welcome back to the final lap of the program. Here we deal with Ken Ofori-Atta, the former finance minister, and the Office of the Special Prosecutor. As you may well be aware, the Office of the Special Prosecutor has been on his case. He's been wanted to answer to some matters, 5 cases, which include the National Cathedral procurement matters, some abrogation of ECG contract, and a few other matters. He's not been around. He said he's not well, and so there was some much indication given that he would undergo some procedure. That didn't appear to have happened, and just few days and as a result of those conversations in February, he gave the indication that he will be back in Ghana on the 2nd June to meet with the Office of the Special Prosecutor. Just few days to the 2nd June date, he now said that he had other conditions and he's been diagnosed of cancer, and that there was a procedure he has to undergo in June, 13 June. And of course, according to the Special Prosecutor, Ken Ofori-Atta has not given any indication of when he will be available in the country. And so that is a big matter. When his name was placed on the wanted list of the OSP, there was some discussions here and there to get his name off the list. His name was taken off, but the Special Prosecutor did mention at the time that if he fails to turn up on the date, on the June 2 day, he was going to restore his name onto that wanted list. Special Prosecutor last Monday, June 2, addressed the press and said that meeting hasn't happened. They have no indication from him when exactly he will come into the country, apart from saying that he's been diagnosed of something else and he has to wait and undergo a procedure on June 13. Office of the Special Prosecutor doesn't appear convinced about that, and so they have restored his name on the wanted man list, and also initiated or triggered the Interpol Red Notice procedure. And as we speak, the Interpol has issued a statement or a notice that Ken Ofori-Atta is a wanted man by the state of Ghana. I don't know how they're going to do that. I don't know whether they're going to look for him. I don't know how it's going to work. And I don't even know whether it is the case that he's not readily available to people who want to see him in the US. I don't know, but of course they know their processes, so they will deal with that. So that is the matter at hand. Let's give you some update on that. Special Prosecutor Kissi Jabin has officially redeclared former Finance Minister Kenneth Ofori-Atta a wanted person and a fugitive from justice after his failure to honor a final summons to appear before the Office of the Special Prosecutor on Monday, June 2, 2025. The OSP has since secured an Interpol Red Notice and commenced extradition processes to compel Ken Ofori-Atta's return to Ghana. At a press briefing in Accra, the Special Prosecutor detailed a timeline of what he described as calculated delays and surprise tactics by Ken Ofori-Atta and his legal team, allegedly designed to evade accountability in the ongoing corruption probe. Channel 1 News' Hansen Ajiman has more.
The Office of the Special Prosecutor first notified Ken Ofori-Atta of his investigations in January 2025, although he initially cited medical reasons for his absence and pledged to cooperate. The Special Prosecutor said the former minister repeatedly failed to meet deadlines to submit credible documentation regarding his health status. According to Mr. Jabin, after months of non-compliance, Ofori-Atta's legal team eventually agreed to a June 2 in-person meeting. But just 6 days prior, they informed the OSP that their client had been diagnosed with cancer and will require surgery, subsequently requesting a virtual interview. The OSP rejected both the request for a remote session and the offer of an in-person review of a biopsy report, insisting that only a physical appearance would suffice for procedural integrity. The Special Prosecutor emphasized that since January, Mr. Ofori-Atta has failed to provide any verifiable medical report that proves he's either medically unfit or a flight risk. Following his no-show on June 2, the OSP officially relisted Mr. Ofori-Atta as a wanted person, triggered an Interpol Red Notice, and initiated extradition efforts to ensure his forced return to face investigations in Ghana.
The OSP redeclares that Mr. Ofori-Atta is a wanted person and a fugitive from justice. His name is hereby re-entered on the OSP's list of wanted persons. The OSP will take all necessary legal steps to secure Mr. Ofori-Atta's return to the jurisdiction and to answer to the criminal inquiries against him. In pursuance of this, about 30 minutes before this briefing, I triggered processes for the issuance of an Interpol red notice for the location and provisional arrest of Mr. Kenneth Nanaya Oforiatta in whichever jurisdiction pending extradition or his surrender.
Mr. Jabin also provided updates on other high-profile investigations, including alleged corruption involving officials at the National Petroleum Authority.
All right, so that's that report put together by our man, Hansen Ajiman. Meanwhile, Interpol has listed Ken Oforiatta as, quote, a wanted man on its official website. On Interpol's website, the charge listed against Ken Oforiatta is using public office for profit. Frank Davis, lawyer for former Finance Minister Ken Oforiatta, has criticized the Office of the Special Prosecutor for the approach taken in its corruption probe against Ken Oforiatta.
He's declared him and he's been put on the list. So it's up to those who have been notified to do what they have to do. We are going to keep our cards close to our chest. If he has advertised him, he's now on the Interpol red alert notice. Fine. I mean, what is there for us to do?
Mr. Davis, how is Mr. Oforiatta, how is he responding to this notice?
Mr. Oforiatta is well. If I say well, not health-wise. He's well in his mind. This has been up and coming since day one. Indeed, when somebody has notified you and has notified the Office of the Chief of Staff that he's embarking on the travel, not for fun. It wasn't a fun trip on the medical conference. And then on the 10th of February, you serve him a letter to appear in your office. Why? CCS Spirit, was it not a trap set for him? Before Ken Oforiatta left on the 22nd of or 22nd or the 24th of January, didn't the Office of the President just know that Ken Oforiatta was in this country? And if he had anything to do by way of charges, he couldn't contact him at that time, waited for him to travel? Come on. Is this prosecution or persecution?
All right, so that's Frank Davis, lawyer for Ken Oforiatta, speaking there. Quite a number of issues. Yeah, so Adam is still here in studio to help us deal with the matter. Adam, once again, you're welcome to the program. Ken Oforiatta, former finance minister. Office of Special Prosecutor appear to be doing some work. What's the general thinking around what the Special Prosecutor is doing from government circles? Of course, Special Prosecutor is a different, I won't say very independent, but it's supposed to be an independent body. That's why we call him Special Prosecutor, even though he borrows powers from the Attorney General to do his work. What's the general thinking in government circles about the job of the Attorney General, the OSP, in respect of our former Finance Minister?
Selorm, accountability is one of the key pillars of our modern democracy. In fact, the very day accountability collapses, our democracy also will collapse. We live in a country where the good people of Ghana, in fact, majority of them, are interested in ensuring that individuals who are entrusted with public office deliver, and they do so with integrity. And so if after serving your term, whether as a former president, former finance minister, member of parliament, or what have you, you are being asked to account, I don't think that it is any such difficulty for us to even be spending so much time debating or arguing over. Except that in this case, the individual involved, the Honorable Ken Oforiatta, who managed the finance ministry for a greater part of President Akufo-Addo's administration, and the approach of his lawyers and the NPP in general to this issue seems to suggest that they are not willing to subject themselves or submit themselves to the independent state institutions for due process to be carried through. Even this morning, on a sister station of yours, one of the people very close to the former administration, very close to Ken Oforiatta, said that if he had an advice for Ken Ofori-Atta, he would ask him not to return to Ghana or to subject himself to the OSP for questioning. I do not want us to focus so much on the health status of the individual in question, but yes, so I'm getting there, because as for health, all of us are vulnerable. You can wake up strong, and before close of day, you may be in bed needing some urgent medical attention. And so I do not want to go into what really his condition may be. But you asked a very interesting question from the very beginning, that apart from physically presenting himself to the OSP, are there not other means by which the information we need from him as a former finance minister who has become a subject of investigation in cases that led to the loss of huge sums of money, gargantuan amounts? Are there no other methods or mechanisms put in place to get the information so that the process can be facilitated and the prosecution can take place, that is, depending on whatever the findings may be? Number two, this is a government that, I'm talking about the previous government. President Akufo-Addo, who was the Attorney General under President Kufuor, who led the persecution and prosecution of Victor Salome of blessed memory, even when his health was failing him, even when it was obvious that his health was failing him, we all saw what the gentleman was subjected to until he finally passed on to his maker. The NCA matter under President Akufo-Addo, the NCA matter, where some people were sentenced, including the former CEO of NCA. At the time he was presenting himself in court, he was undergoing daily dialysis, and there were many instances where he would move straight from the hospital to the court because he wanted to present himself for the due process to take place. He wanted accountability to take place. I just want to say that whether Ken Ofori-Atta or whoever, no individual should be bigger than scrutiny. And if the MPP, as a political party, and if President Akufo-Addo, who when he was handing over, said he was encouraging all his appointees to subject themselves to accountability and due process, if indeed those words meant anything to him as former president of the republic, he should encourage his cousin to subject himself to the due process so that the right investigations can take place. Look, Selorm, it may interest you to know that apart from all the promises by President Mahama to create jobs, to revive the economy, relieve Ghanaians of the prolonged hardship, and all the others, the most widely accepted policy, and the survey has shown in our 2024, was the oral. Because Ghanaians want to see us prosecute and also recover the loot of the previous administration. And so I will encourage all the other state institutions interested in the investigation to ensure that whatever it will take to bring everybody who was involved in the loot to book, they should do it. And nobody should be shielded or protected because of the person's status. And also, it is even interesting that OSP, in the pursuit of this matter, has written to Interpol for Interpol to issue the red notice. Isn't it easy Selorm, and I'm asking for Interpol and for OSP to truly ascertain the health condition of the former finance minister. And if you tell us that he is well, and if you tell us that you as his lawyer, your client is well, and you are able to communicate with him, what prevents you from ensuring that he is subjected to the right processes for investigations to continue? Why are they asking us to wait at his own leisure? So tomorrow, when the June deadline also elapses, they will come back and tell us that after this major surgery, there is another surgery scheduled for 3 months' time. So we should wait? Is that the argument that Frank Davis and the people that seek to be speaking for Ken Ofori-Atta are making? That at his own will, because he gave a May 2nd or so deadline.
You said June 2.
No, June 2nd. But yes. they initially gave
March. I think it was March.
Yeah, they gave March.
Procedure in March.
They kept, yes, that after that procedure, then they kept postponing. How long can we wait for Ken Ofori-Atta to subject himself to the investigative body?
Special prosecutor really has stuff against him, he should proceed to court and let it happen. So the man is not coming, so it doesn't mean that we have to wait. Let's proceed with what we have. Let's let the courts pronounce judgment, and then we'll take it from there.
I think it is in the interest of our democracy to ensure that the Constitution gives every Ghanaian the right to self-defense. And so, until you are proven guilty by a competent court of jurisdiction,
you are presumed innocent.
You are presumed innocent. And that is why it is important to have your day in courts. But I agree with you.
But if there's
that after
if you have extended,
so if you have extended some courtesies to you, and you keep dodging it, I am sure that is why we have gotten to a point where he has been declared wanted. So all of these are part of the processes that are leading to that. Because I imagine if the OSP had moved ahead to just start prosecution without hearing from Ken, the same group of people, very loud, shouting today, I mean the MPP, would have been on the streets saying that Ken was denied the right to defend himself or for his right, for his side of the story to be heard. That would have been their defense.
But there's a thinking that, the system just wants to embarrass him.
What is the embarrassment?
Because, for example, when he was traveling, I don't know why he did so, but he informed the chief of staff, even the present chief of staff, even though his government was no more in power, he informed the present chief of staff that he was traveling out of the country for an extended period for medical care. This is a man who obviously has no intention of running away, because nothing,
Selorm,
there was no need for him to inform anybody, but he did.
Selorm, it is possible that if we accept this argument on the face value, tomorrow it becomes precedent. So after your party loses the election, or when you are being investigated for crimes committed while in office, the next thing you will do is to write to chief of staff asking or telling the chief of staff that you are traveling for medical attention. So whether it takes you 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, you want us to keep waiting for you because you think that you have written. And what is this argument about embarrassing the gentleman? Where is it coming from? If the NDC wants to embarrass anybody in the NPP, I don't think that it will be Ken Ofori-Atta. The former chief of staff and now chief of staff, Honorable Julius Debra, was subjected to investigations after we lost the 2016 elections. And so, what is so special about investigating Ken Ofori-Atta? Many other ministers and public servants who served under the John Dramani Mahama administration from 2013 to 2017 January were investigated. Today, the FIC boss, Kojotu Mbafo, that gentleman alone was abused. He had visited Iyoko offices not less than 33 times. His mother's house was ransacked. His family house was ransacked. His own home was ransacked. Did the NDC come out to say, we just want to embarrass?
Payback time.
It is never payback time. It is about accountability. All we are asking is that present yourself to the process, for due process to take place. And so nobody is interested in either paying back or in embarrassing anyone. As a public official, you ought to understand that accountability is a key component of this our job. And that is why before you come into office, you ask to declare your assets. And that is why on any day, any individual can file an RTI questioning even some of the properties that you have acquired, because all of this is part of the system to ensure we build a democracy where accountability thrives. We must do away with corruption. Why? They used to brag that they were Wall Street businessmen and all of that. Why? Is accountability no more part of the core values that they prescribe or they subscribe to? I want to plead with all the investigative agencies that pursue every case contained in oral. Pursue investigations into every case where even 1 cedi of state resources were lost. And if there is an aspect of our performance that some of us, that some party people are not happy with, that the general citizenry is not too comfortable with, is the fact that there is even a perception that we are too slow in the prosecution.
Really, with all the rates
too slow because Ghanaians saw how in 8 years the kind of havoc that the NPP government caused us. State properties that were sold to state officials, lands that were allocated to themselves, and only recently a gentleman walked into my office asking me to lead him to Honorable Okujeto Ablakwa. Guess what he wanted? His own land that he bought with all the documentation and started building somewhere around Ajingano with the support of national security. Public officials forcefully took over the land and they were building on it, and these things were happening under the MPP. You couldn't voice it out because all of these things were done with the support of state machinery. Go and ask the founder of Ideal College. I'll be mentioning he is even suspected to be an MPP member. Go and ask some of the lands that belongs to Ideal College how it was forcefully taken by the MPP folks. Go to UPSA. There used to be a restaurant called
belonging to him, was taken.
Yes, belonging to him
by MPP persons.
Were taken by state machinery, and how? Look, there are many things that happened.
But he should go to court.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That when they were causing all this havoc, seizing state individuals' properties, stealing lands and allocating it to themselves, they also
how do they steal?
Were fortified.
They go through a certain process.
They were also
Lands
fortified.
All of that.
They were also fortified. Yes, but if Lands Commission can forcefully seize your land and give and sell to somebody at a cheap price, is that not stealing?
I don't know about forcefully, but
so that is why I'm telling you that we believe that those working on prosecuting these cases
must go to the bottom of it.
Must act faster. Go to UPSA area. There used to be a restaurant called Birthdays. The former place was developed. Do you know what happened and how that place was forcefully taken?
The last time I realized the place is
it's been relocated, redeveloped. Yes. How was the land taken? You see, there are many things, but you see, the Constitution, they will tell you, lawyers will tell you, until it is proven in court,
the person is innocent.
The person is presumed innocent.
Great.
My point is that we are pleading with the Attorney General. He is a fine gentleman. We know he and his deputy are doing a good job. I want to plead with them that the people of Ghana want these cases to be fast-tracked. They want accountability. They want those who looted state properties to be brought to book. Because the only way we can fortify our democracy and ensure accountability and ensure that the people of Ghana have trust in us is for us to punish those who stole state properties and show accountability. Then it becomes a deterrent to those who are currently occupying public offices.
Great. That's Edem Agbana, Member of Parliament for Ketu North, and Ketu North is my hometown constituency, really. Thanks so much for joining us today. This is how we conclude today's edition of the program. My name is Selorm Adonoo. Have a good afternoon.